It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell are here. Big shoe, too. Yesterday was the official debut of the Copilot Plus PCs, minus recall. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the new Copilot Plus PCs. Paul's reviews still to come. He hasn't finished reviewing them. We'll also talk a little bit about AI. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. And a lot more. Windows Weekly. Oh, whiskey, too. German whiskey this time. Windows Weekly is coming up next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 886, recorded Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. The old banana in the tailpipe. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show we cover the latest news from Microsoft. And there is a lot of news from Microsoft with us today, ladies and gentlemen. Our stalwarts of Microsoft coverage, Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com. Hello, Paul.
Hola, Leo.
You've been doing this show for 886 episodes now. Are you getting
tired? It only
tired?
feels like 884, 885.
That's a lot of.
It's been a late 886.
Shows. And about a year ago, we had this other guy here join us, and it's been great ever since. Rich Campbell is here from Run
I
As
feel like
Radio.
it was like a year and a half ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. What that? Yeah, it was two Decembers back.
You know, I was thinking
2.5 years ago.
8/11 was the show.
Oh,
right?
boy.
Wow. 75 shows ago.
Yep.
This guy here, this man, this cat, this dude.
This guy.
I remember telling you, like, listen, I travel a lot, so I'm probably not going to be able to make all the shows.
Yep.
Where are you today? Where are you?
I'm in Berlin.
Berlin,
I'm in
of all.
part of Berlin was the old East Berlin.
Oh, he's in East Berlin. Wow.
Yeah.
On the other side of the wall.
A bit chaotic here, but I still
I love Berlin. Berlin's a great
I'll take
town.
your chaotic and raise it one Mexico City anytime.
Yeah. I'm not going to go with you on the Mexico City
Paul
thing.
wins with the chaos contest
Sure.
in beautiful Mexico City, Mexico.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm going to wrap up here about somewhere around 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night, and I am going for Turkish kebab.
So jealous.
I gotta get,
Oh, the best kebab in the world in Germany.
yeah.
Or Donna Kebab.
Wow.
It was that or currywurst, and currywurst is an abomination.
Yeah, I've never had.
It's okay. Just don't do it with ketchup.
Ooh.
Well, that's what they do, right? They take curry powder, mix it into ketchup, and spread it on a perfectly good sausage. These guys know how to make sausage, but then you do terrible things to it. It's shocking.
Hey, they figured out how to ruin Europe, too. I mean, it's not surprising they screwed up a hot dog.
Are you saying the currywurst is their version of the scorched earth?
Yes, they blitzkrieged the sausage.
So
Jerks.
Anyway. This is normal. Paul, Mexico. Richard in Germany.
Richard,
Somewhere. US.
Who knows where Richard is?
Yeah, this is normal. Yeah. This is how we are. But
it's become really fun.
We gather together every week to talk about Windows and Microsoft, and yesterday was the big day, June 18th. I did not see.
Did something happen yesterday? I didn't even notice.
That's the Copilot Plus PC release, dude. I did not see a flood of reviews. I thought I would see but I guess
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, what's going on?
Lots is going on.
What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see if I can remember the timing on this. I don't know, a week, 10 days ago, whatever it was, started having briefings, right, for specific PCs. We were told, Microsoft asked, by which I mean demanded, that PC makers not ship out review units to anybody until after they were able to fix recall. So,
that's going to be a while.
Well, no, things have changed. This is all in flux. So at the time, the plan was we're not going to send anything out until the day of the launch, like Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
June 18th, right? Yesterday. So no one was going to have this stuff until then. And then, so it was okay. I don't think any of this is like an NDA type thing, but there was a real specific kind of first boot experience they were requesting of us, which was aimed at nobody getting a peek at what was going to be there originally. right?
Mm.
And I think everybody, well, I mean, in case it's not obvious, when you open a computer for the first time and you go through that out-of-box experience, there's a segment very early on that says, well, actually, there are two segments in the out-of-box experience, but the first one occurs very early on, and it says looking for updates. And sometimes it will install updates, right? And so
that's normal.
The plan,
we expect that.
I mean, Microsoft has a multitude of ways to update Windows now. So
I plan my life for that whenever I'm unboxing anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah. I somewhere in the notes, I think I have a joke about this as being like the Xbox gamification of Ubi. Like, you pre-install like a Call of Duty game, and then the day arrives, you're like, here we go. It's like, oh, we get a little update to install 151 gigabytes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Please stand.
Yeah, as of a week or 10 days ago, whatever it was, the plan was that Copilot PC, these things were already in this channel, right? Or they're out in the world somewhere in boxes and things. So they would ship these things out to reviewers on Monday, get them on Tuesday, unless you live in Mexico, and you get them maybe Wednesday or in some Mexican schedule, we'll see. But anyway, and you would go through this process, right? And it will do the update. And if, you don't get to see the old recall experience, right? There are obviously going to be updates in Windows Update as well. There are going to be app updates. A lot of the AI experiences are in apps. Like, this is just honestly, as at least one of the PC makers said, it's probably what you do all the time anyway. But, we're just asking in this one case. So, okay. And then Thursday, Microsoft suddenly announced that it was going to delay recall. And they're just, the rationale for this is it's impossible not to laugh, but they're going to test it, as I say in the notes, with the crack team of testers in the Windows Insider program first, because those guys are just on the ball and going to, solve all the problems. And no one said this, but it's pretty clear that it was easier to rip recall out of Windows than it was to fix it, so to speak.
Sure,
according to the changes that they said they were going to make. Plus, who knows? Maybe they found other problems, right? All of a sudden, they're paying attention to security again, right? So maybe they did a little review and they were like, yeah, we need more time than this. We need more than a week or 9 days or whatever that was they would have had. So let's see, how do I explain this? People probably remember that the previous week, like as of last Wednesday when we did the show, Microsoft had paused the rollout of the latest build of 24H2 that went to the release preview program, the release preview channel of the Windows Insider program.
Didn't it actually go away? Like
they stopped shipping it. They stopped putting it out. Now, if you had followed my tip from, I don't know, a month or so ago, you would have also noticed, I think we talked about this last week, that last Tuesday was Patch Tuesday, a week ago Tuesday, and 22H2 got Windows updates, 23H2 got Windows updates, 24H2 did not. And it would have been that same build that they were sending out to the release preview program, right? So, which is or would have been the so-called like initial stable release of 24H2, the version that you would have updated to on your Copilot Plus PC yesterday. This is like, as I say this out loud, I'm wondering if this makes sense to anybody. I'm sorry. This is the schedule, is what happened. But anyway, they delayed it, and that's why we didn't get the Patch Tuesday update. I think I talked about this last week. And then over the weekend, I think on Saturday, Microsoft unpaused the deployment of this Patch Tuesday update. It went out to the release preview. So if you're unstable, you all of a sudden you could check Windows Update, you would get it. It's the build you will get if you have a Copilot Plus PC. The experience is slightly different on those PCs because recall is mentioned in the out-of-box experience, but now it says coming soon. Right? It's not, click here to do it or click here to not to do it, right? Or in the past dark pattern, pretend it's not there. Don't worry, we're not recording you every day, all day long. That kind of thing. So here it is. So what is it? It's Wednesday. So as of Monday morning, the day before the Copilot PC launch, Microsoft had shipped something that was basically the first stable version of 24H2. PC makers started sending out their review laptops. And then yesterday happened. And yeah, that's why you saw
Leo.
Happened
yesterday.
Yeah, not too much. Well, a bunch of people went to stores, or a bunch of people sat by the front door and waited for UPS to arrive or whatever. And these things they arrived on time, right? Because they were out in the world.
There's a comment on your site who got his Surface Pro.
Yeah, a bunch of people did.
Actually.
Raphael got one.
Yeah.
A bunch of people did. But through the normal channels, right? Like I should say I ordered a Surface laptop as I think you know, and it arrived yesterday as well in Macungie, Pennsylvania, which is approximately 2,700 miles from where I am right now. I had my niece who was staying at the place watching the cat sit out front with a shotgun to make sure UPS didn't just drive by. And she was able to get it. She didn't have to sign for it, but it did come. And by the way, the thing came at like 10 minutes to 5 in the afternoon. Like,
that's what
if I had been home, I would have been going nuts.
Yeah, always says that to me too. Always.
Oh, it's the worst. And so we'll see what happens with the review laptop. I'm expecting to get hopefully today. It was supposed to be today. I mean, we'll see. But
from whom?
From HP.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And then I'll be getting one from Lenovo as well, but they haven't gotten back to me yet on whether they're going to send it here or not.
All the companies that said they were going to ship Copilot Plus PCs did ship on June 18th. That actually did happen.
Yep.
Okay.
It did happen. Yep.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, so in that sense, it kind of, they kind of made the schedule, right? They kind of did it, right? So that's good. And then, like I said, the experience, honestly, it's not that different from a normal laptop experience. And I've kind of documented this for normal people in the book. When they get a PC, they should go through this process anyway. But, you sign in with a Microsoft account if you want to get your the AI features and so forth. Recall requires it, which is not there. 24H2 got rid of most of the workarounds to not using a Microsoft account. It got rid of all of the workarounds for not being online. So you have to be online to set this thing up. Although, I expect we're going to find other ways to work around that. There is one remaining workaround, which I'm going to document soon I'm sure I've mentioned it somewhere, but that will work if you just don't want to use a Microsoft account. So that's still possible, but most people will sign with a Microsoft account. They'll get the updates, go through the UBI. They'll get the little recall screen. It now just mentions it doesn't have buttons to press anymore. There's a next button, but nothing to agree to or anything. And then you get into the desktop, and if you're familiar with 24H2 as it is on a PC today, like a normal PC, a non-Copilot Plus PC, it's exactly the same. There's nothing different, except that in certain apps you get those Copilot Plus AI features, which you could fit on the back of a credit card. There aren't that many of them, and you should do. And we've been advised to, but you should go and install updates. Right, you're probably going to have a firmware update. Surface has shipped firmware updates. I'm not sure about the other PC makers, but I know at least some of them will have those. And then go into the store and update the apps, because like I said, a lot of those AI experiences are coming through apps like Paint or whatever. And yeah, count on some time.
Does anything, right? Like, the thing I want to know from you is you're going to go do something in Paint or Clipchamp or one of those apps, and it's going to be dramatically better on the Snapdragon machine. That NPU does something.
Let me stop you right there. Dramatically. Okay, how about interesting? That's an interesting adjective.
I saw some warnings that some Adobe programs will not even run.
Well,
and
that was
Fortnite wouldn't. It was that.
Yeah, that was something Samsung put out only on their Korean website.
Yeah,
that's not.
Yeah. No, you don't think that's true?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I expect you to immediately turn on Fortnite as soon as you get it.
Okay, well,
but these things aren't surprising. It's a new chip architecture,
right? Well,
I mean, there's going to be some incompatibilities.
I think it's going to be a lot less than people think. And I say that without having one in front of me, right? So,
and that's because they'll run in the emulation mode.
Yeah, and the emulator is dramatically better than it was before. Right. Dramatically better. So, obviously, you want to get the native apps when they're available. Most of the time, that's going to be seamless. If you go to download Chrome or Opera, one of those browsers, it's going to happen. If you go to download Visual Studio, you'll just get it. You don't have to do anything, right? That's how this should work, right?
When Apple switched to Apple Silicon, and I got my first Apple Silicon Mac, I really did not want to install any Intel software.
Yeah,
very hard not to. Very hard not to. And when you do, at least with Apple, it said, okay, now we have to install Rosetta 2. We have to install the compatibility layer. Does Windows have that already installed, or is that?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
So you won't necessarily know if you're.
No, you won't know. Yeah. You won't know, and that's the thing. I mean, in the old days, and by the old days, I mean just a few short years ago, you could have made the argument that, or I would, in fact, I probably did, that running an x86 app slowly on ARM is better than not being able to run it, right? Which was the problem with Windows RT. You couldn't run it at all. It wasn't even an option. But that's not a good experience. And for this thing to fly with mainstream customers, it has to just work, right? One thing we're not really seeing in the advertising is this, hey, by the way, it's a new architecture. It's different, like no one's talking about that. And the hope and the goal here is that it's because no one will notice, right? That a normal human being, not a tech person, but someone like my wife or whomever, my brother, will bring this thing home, set it up, and go on with the life and never once think about it. It will just kind of work. It will be boring.
Some apps will be better.
Yes.
They'll notice, they'll be happy with that it performs well.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about this kind of stuff because obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, but Microsoft has changed the marketing for this platform from what used to be always connected, right, to AI. And we can debate, and we should debate the merits of that. I mean, the thing I've come to personally is that having used a MacBook Air recently, and I honestly, it's probably the 5th or 6th MacBook Air I've owned, but the second Apple Silicon based MacBook anyway. The things that I value there are this incredible combination of thin, light, efficient, great battery life, awesome performance. Nothing you throw at it, this is normal stuff, I mean, but causes it to hitch or stutter or slow down. It doesn't have fans, so it can't, make noise. But, the normal experience, this is another thing I really want to get to at some point in the show, is, Meteor Lake PCs. The laptops that first started shipping last December, I've reviewed several of them now, and I've had many, 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 many problems. And it was very gratifying to meet some other reviewers a month or so ago and have them confirm with me that they've also seen the same issues. But, one of the things that we sort of put up with in the PC space without really thinking about it is that our computers will sometimes sound like jet engines, and that out-of-box experience, the initial Windows updates, the app updates. I run a Winget script that probably installs, I don't know what it is, 10 or 15 apps. Those machines, I'll be sitting there at night just, because it's automated, like running this while we're watching TV. And my wife looks over at me like, what is going on over there? Because the thing's like,
it's melting down.
Yeah, it's just going to town. And that to me is the appeal of this platform, not the thing that Microsoft, Qualcomm, and its PC maker partners are largely promoting, the AI stuff. Although, obviously they talk about the other stuff too. But I kind of feel like we've lost the script a little bit on what's important, To your point, Richard, you asked if, I think you said Paint would be dramatically better. Anyone who has a Windows 11 PC today can open up Paint. Yep. And one of the things, here's two things to notice. One is that at some point they added a Microsoft account sign-in button up in the top corner. So if you sign into your into your PC with a Microsoft account, you'll see a little picture up there. In my case, it's a cute little Apple cartoon thing, but it has passed through. It has passed through. It has through the pass. The authentication is passed through to the app. Anyone who has Windows 11 today will see an image creator button in the non-hideable ribbon that the college students who created this app made. And this is just a UI front end to that Microsoft Designer functionality up in Copilot, right? In fact, you can even see you've got like a little token number at the bottom, right? Because
it's showing you the tokens you're consuming.
Yeah, and you can choose different styles of the picture and all that stuff. But it's built into Paint, which makes sense because it's where you are. You're doing something with images. You might want to create something with Designer. Like, that's cool. Yeah. If you have a Copilot Plus PC and it's fully updated, again, you got to do the app updates. I think a lot of people who try to run this out of the box, at least right now, are not seeing this yet, but once you go through the process, you reboot and all that stuff, you'll see a second button that is new in the ribbon called Co-Creator. So image creator and co-creator are two different things.
Right.
And co-creator is that the demo they use, which is just so silly, is you have a Surface Pen maybe, and you're drawing in Paint. You can't draw because you're normal, or you could just be using your mouse or whatever, touch. You're making the equivalent of a child's finger painting that someone might hang on the refrigerator, despite the fact that it's terrible. Yeah, and you create an image of a turtle, perhaps flying around Mars or Jupiter or whatever it is, and it looks ridiculous, but the AI will turn that into what I would call a Pixar level representation of the thing you're trying to draw, but you're not an artist and you can't, right? So is that valuable? Is that dramatically better? You know what? I'd take an extra hour of battery life. Over that. I would take no fan noise over that. I would take reliability over that, but that's just me. I'm crazy.
Because you're crazy like that.
Yeah. I'm not a marketer.
You don't really have your priority.
But this is the thing. So I wrote an article about this. Apple is clearly doing this. If you look at their announcements from, I guess, last week, which doesn't it seem like 2 months ago? Seriously. The Apple, right? I mean, I know time passes differently when you get older or something, but I mean, I'm having a hard time with time right now, let me tell you. But Apple recently, last week, I guess, announced Apple Intelligence and all that stuff. And they were upfront about this, but one of the little footnotes is these features will be supported on all Apple silicon-based devices, Macs and iPads, right? And as far as like A-series devices, there's only one that's supported, and that's the most recent Apple iPhone
Pro
15
Max
Pro.
Yeah, you have to
Pro
have
and
Pro.
Max, I think.
Yeah, because
and
we think it's because of the RAM. Because
we think it's because of the RAM.
15 only has 8 gigs, and the 15 Pro is 15.
Yeah, and so that whatever that processor is, I think it's like an A17 Pro or something.
I think so. Yeah.
Is apparently has an MPU, and in fact, it does. Off the top of my head, I'm going to get this a little bit wrong, but I want to say the MPU might be as good as even 38 tops. I think it's up there. Whatever.
No, that was the iPad.
No, 25, and maybe 25,
so
38, whatever.
Yeah, it
okay, it could be
like
25,
13 or something.
Oh, okay. But it's in the ballpark for what they're doing, and it will work. And one of the things I struggle with in our little community here, and I'm looking at you people out there, is it seems like experts, the people who know the most, are the least willing or able to adapt to change. And, in our space, there was like this huge outcry. Yeah, you cats and burbs. I don't even know who you are. I'm sorry. But, this recall thing was like this gigantic uproar over nothing.
Yeah.
And by nothing, what I mean by that is just the really tiny audience this would have ever impacted. It was going to be in preview, et cetera, whatever. Apple releases this stuff and everyone's like, yep, I was going to buy a new device anyway. Nice. There's no problem,
No, I thought they handled it way better.
They absolutely handled it way better. Yep, they did.
So
they
it's
did. And they're also rolling it out better, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft.
I'd also say they're coming from a better position. They're more trusted by their customers.
Yeah. Well, they're more trustworthy. Microsoft, a company that can't stop delivering advertisements and forced features and whatever else in Windows 11, can stand up on a stage in May, announce a feature that no one has ever tested, and deliver it and plan to deliver it a month later on new PCs. Like what?
Yeah.
What
and people will expect that it'll show up that next month. Everything they say, they're very, very likely to do.
Yeah. So, look, I keep reminding people that this is, these companies are businesses, right? And it's okay that they want us to pay for services or, buy an upgrade. It helps the industry, et cetera, et cetera. We get it. This is a business, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'm way happier paying for things than being exploited because I'm not paying for things.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, me too. I would happily pay them $20 a month to turn
let
Windows
me
11
be
into
the
something
customer,
special.
not your product, right? That's what I
would like that option. Yeah, no, 100%. But the AI hardware upgrade cycle is very interesting because the discussion so far has just been about MPUs. And the MPU thing it's not artificial. That's not fair. I last week or the week before, I discussed Stevie Batish's very short talk at Build this year and how the MPU is in fact dramatically faster and more efficient, almost exponentially so, certainly when compared to a CPU, but also to a GPU, right? And that for this initial class of devices where they're focusing on laptops, that's super important, right? Now, the flip side of that is, of course, there are guys with beefy desktop computers with GPUs that run games. And do work. Yep. And they're like, what are you doing?
Should be able to pull down 150 tops out of that thing.
450. I mean,
yeah.
We should be able to
process, but still.
Yeah. I want to bring the electrical grid to its knees, but who cares? Yeah. I need that paint feature that lets me make a turtle. Like why can't I do that?
I bought this GPU with 11 fans on it, and by God, I want them all spinning.
I didn't buy them not to use them. I'm just saying. Yeah. No, it's a fair argument on both sides. Neither side is wrong. But I also talked about orchestration and kind of the unsophisticated nature of how AI is being rolled out right now. We're just going to use this MPU. This is a little more acceptable in the Apple space because it's Apple. They make their own devices. They have
control. This is the advantage of the walled garden, right?
Right. I mean, there are generations of these chips, but it's Apple's MPU. Like this is their thing, and their software, their hardware, their services. I mean, it's a little more acceptable. It's tough in the PC space. We've always relied on that diversity in hardware and software, and it will change over time. But short term, we have this upgrade cycle. But like I said, not just MPU. GPUs are getting dramatically better. AMD and Intel both announced next generation chips for PCs that, in addition to having much better MPUs, have dramatically better integrated GPUs. We're getting to the point where integrated GPUs could be used in light gaming machines, even like laptops that can play games like real games, not the games like racing games, like actual recent fairly modern games at reasonable resolutions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really exciting. But the thing is, like on-device AI, the second biggest requirement, honestly, is RAM. It's the thing Leo said earlier, right? iPhones.
Well, for on-device it is because you have to store the model in RAM. Yeah.
Yeah. So the base requirements for a Windows 11 PC, which sounds crazy because it is 4 gigabytes of RAM. The base requirements for a Copilot Plus PC is 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's not twice, guys. It's 4 times as much, right? Yeah. And we should view minimums for what they are.
Right? Anyway,
that's a minimum.
The Linux people would be appalled.
No, look, our Windows PCs are gross. It's just, there's no reason to apologize. This is what it is. The OS has a certain footprint on disk, but when you go to a Copilot Plus PC, the footprint is not exponentially bigger, but much bigger. Because you have that 40 whatever number models that are on disk, and those did ship out with the PCs apparently. But you also have those recall images or snapshots eventually, right? And these things take up space, and so the storage requirements are also dramatically bigger. In the phone space, Android flagship devices, right, especially have typically always come with a lot more RAM than iPhones, but that's because those systems need it, and Apple's always done a great job of making those systems very efficient. But when you get into the MPU on-device AI era, as we are now, you're going to see new iPhones this year, new iPads, new Macs, et cetera. These things are all going to have a lot more RAM.
Well, and it's a great question of, I know the vendors all want us to have AI on our devices. The question is, do the customers want it on their device?
Nobody cares what the customer wants. Come on. This is the thing for the short term in the PC space, which is sort of what we should focus on here. There's going to be this divide between what I'll call kind of normal PCs and these AI PCs. And the divide is just like any other upsell divide, the divide between a premium PC of any kind and a normal PC, where you might have a, back in the day, tablet PC, or these days, just like a beautiful, whatever it is, X1 Carbon or EliteBook 1040 like Leo has, where, these are just premium devices. They command a premium price.
And they look at and they feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I will, to give them some credit, previous gen ARM-based PCs were premium PCs, very expensive, typically in the high thousands, like $1,700, $1,800 or more. These ones come in at $999, which is
Nice.
it's a weird thing to say, but it's the entry level price point for the premium PC part of the market, if that makes sense. It's a good price for this kind of device.
Below that, you start getting iPad territory, basic iPad. Even.
Or even
you can load an iPad
Chromebook
Pro up and spend $3,000 if you want.
Yeah. But look, anyone, you don't have to be a technical person. Your wife or someone mainstream is going to, not your wife, Richie. Your wife is smarter than any of us, but a more technical than any of us. Someone who's just a normal mainstream kind of PC buyer. 4 gigabytes has been too little for a long time. Even before these AI PCs, I was like, I think we're hitting 16 now. I think 16 might be where people want to be. And I think with these Copilot Plus PCs, I think we're looking at 32, frankly, which a lot of guys in this audience are nodding heads like, yeah, duh, that's been the kind of minimum we've been looking at for a while, because maybe we have gaming PCs or whatever it is. We do video editing, yada, 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 whatever. But there are PCs today for creators of various kinds, PCs today for gamers, workstation customers, et cetera, that have had these high-end specs for a while. Copilot Plus PCs are another entry in that area, but of course they're unique too, because they have corresponding like efficiency, uptime, and we're hoping with ARM reliability improvements over the x86 stuff. We're going to find that out. So yeah, there's the upgrade cycle is real, and it's not just MPU, right? But although these things are all going to come part and parcel, more RAM, more storage.
But if I'm the vendor, like I want to be able to discern my machine from others. Like you want these metrics, you want evidence that your product was superior.
So here's the problem.
Some way you can press on the customer to buy it.
Yeah. I've mentioned Steven Stofsky's book, Hardcore Software, several times, and I recommend everyone read this. Mm-hmm. One of the great stories in there is how they brought ARM to market for the first time in Windows with Windows RT. And one of there's all these stumbling blocks. When people look at things like, why did Windows Phone fail, or why did Windows 8 fail, or whatever, everyone seems to think they're like, oh, it's this, and they list one thing. It's like, yeah, it's usually a bunch of things, but among the bunch of things that I think people don't really think about or know about is that there's this kind of give and take with PC makers in the PC space and Microsoft. And like Richard just was alluding to, they want to differentiate, they want to do their own thing. And one of the things that Microsoft had to try to sell on them with ARM was like, guys, this is going to be a little bit more like phones. You can, because of the light customization capabilities that they allow in Windows, the differentiation that PC makers can make in ARM-based PCs is much smaller than they want, right? And in the RT timeframe, they just basically said no. I mean, obviously some did at first try, but it didn't work out, and they gave up on that very quickly. And one of the things they hated about it was that all of these PCs at heart were essentially the same computer, right?
Right.
Same computer. So for this time, the way they differentiate,
it's always been the problem with the Ultrabooks. Yeah. Because they're all SOC. There's just not any flexibility. They're gonna be.
Right. So when I say, right. And by the way, that exhibits itself in a lot of ways. Like one of the things like I'll complain about when I review laptops is, great, you have 2 USB 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, but they're right next to each other on the same side. Why do you put them on the, your Lenovo or HP? You're big, you could do this, but they can't, because they're buying these system components from the same places, and that's how they come. They're constrained as well.
You got 2 ports, but you can only use one of them.
Yeah, well, I hope you're not left-handed, because then you can't use any of them, or whatever. So for Windows on ARM, for this generation, the Qualcomm Snapdragon X processors, one of the reasons that Qualcomm went with multiple SKUs was, well, binning, but also because PC makers wanted that some differentiation, right? Where you might have I was really hoping that part of that would include literally silent machines, like an X Plus
totally
device.
No spin.
Yep. And I think we're going to get there. There's already rumors about the next gen and whatever, but it's still a struggle. But I think the thing that's changed is in the 12 years, since RT, the market has changed. Phones and tablets have, if anything, have only grown I keep saying exponential. I'm sorry. They've grown dramatically, et cetera. And things have happened to the PC market that are entirely positive. And I think they're more open to like, okay, look, this is where the market needs to go. We need to do this. So we're again stuck in a place where they can't really do too much to Windows. You're not going to get an HP version of the start menu. You're not going to get a Dell version of the desktop or any of that stuff. They can't do that. They can bundle up some small number of apps. They can do that. They can pin some small number of apps to different places. But they're basically left with 4 processor choices, right? A small set of 16, 32, 64 gigs of RAM, which is on device on chip and can't be changed later. Obviously storage things, although we're not seeing a lot of that. It's like 512, 1 terabyte typically. And then you get to make a laptop. You can design your own computer. Like you get to do that.
Ports are pretty much been assigned by the SOC.
Yeah, they're very similar. You'll see very similar ports. I am happy to see a mix.
Were made by Qualcomm, right?
But not in isolation, right? I mean, obviously Microsoft and the PC maker said, look, we want to do this, but you got to give us something here, right? So where in the past we might have just seen 2 USB ports like a MacBook Air, you're seeing USB-A ports on these devices, right? In addition to USB-C. You're even seeing, I think some of them, I'm not really sure about this, but I wouldn't be surprised to discover there are legacy ports.
They're all the same set of ports. Like this is not a differentiator.
They have choices. I mean, it's not as diverse as the x86 world. It can't be. My God, that thing's been going on for 40 years or whatever. But yes, I look, PC makers see this stuff. They see the reliability problems. They see the hot bagging. They see their customers complaining. I mean, they want to deliver high quality products. Believe it or not, you might know that looking at some of the software builds, but they do. And they're trying. Let's give them credit. A lot more of them have shown up. There are many more models than we had. I'm
stunned that as many went in as did.
I am too. It's nice to see.
If anything, this AI hype has sold the vendors. It sold the normal
stock
consumer.
market. Let's not forget.
Yes, and so it's kind of a perfect storm of timing in that sense. The problem we've experienced. So the thing that's happening here is that Microsoft is really pushing AI experiences in Windows, and there really aren't that many of them that require an NPU, and they're not super compelling. I will once again mention the NPU, the Turtle. Some of them are neat. I mean, like the ability to do live translations in live captions, awesome. Like live captions is an amazing feature just in your native language. Being able to use it to translate across languages is next level. I mean, that's amazing.
Astonishing.
But not everybody needs that. I mean, we don't all work at international companies or have friends in other countries or whatever it might be. I mean, so this goes back to that discussion we've had many times where AI, and in this case specifically AI in a Windows computer, is not a killer feature, although Microsoft thought they had it, right? With recall, it's all these little things. And most of it's going to come not from Windows, but from Photoshop, whatever video editor, whatever apps that, creators especially in the early days are going to use, because that's where it's most obvious, right? Or even Microsoft will deliver it via, it's not third party, but outside of Windows, like all of the Copilot capabilities of Microsoft 365, the things that will help you write, essentially are coming from the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is not any different than the world's ever been, but it's just funny to watch them try to make this big push, for something I don't think really resonates. I don't think that stuff matters to most people.
No, but you're kind of, I think you're walking around the fact that we've yet to see the killer app.
Yeah, no, I'm not walking around it. We haven't. You're right. I mean, you're 100%.
But that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
It's like what made the PC take off.
So I put this in the notes so I wouldn't forget. Let me show you the killer app. This is the killer app. Everybody watch. Got it? See what I'm doing? Watch what happens. Now, this is...
This is so exciting.
You're going to miss it. Watch this.
Watch.
Oh, it came on. See, now here's the thing. I review laptops for a living. I have done so for over 20 years. I review 7 to 12, I would say, every year. I have somewhere around 28 different laptops in my home in Pennsylvania. Let me tell you something, especially with these Meteor-Lake PCs. When you open the lid of a laptop or just turn on a computer, I have this problem with desktop computers too, you're spinning a wheel. I wonder what's going to come up this time, Bob. What do we got? Bonus round? Yep. A blinking white light. What does that mean? I don't know. Google it. You never know what you're going to get.
I will.
And on the Mac?
The interest of defending our sponsor, HP.
Okay.
Let's just try it. Let's just try it.
Okay.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, but let me tell you. So, all right,
Hello.
but
And it did a hello.
all right, but the computer I'm using to do the show is that computer.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that computer has had horrible reliability problems recently. And I woke. There was one night I didn't quite finish writing this. I meant to put it up for the show.
Oh, you got the workstation version though, not the same one as I have.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's completely different. I'm pretty sure they're identical. But okay.
Oh, okay.
My wife thinks that I have Tourette's, frankly, because I cannot believe some of the things I see. But Monday night, I have it all in the battery report, so I can tell you exactly what the time frames are. But at 9:40, I walked into the bedroom. It had been sitting there open because I'd been using it before we went off. Then I closed it, unplugged it, brought it out to this desk I'm sitting at, left it here, and went, read and went to bed. Whatever. In the morning, I woke up. I opened the lid. Nothing happened, which is one of the 10 things that could happen. And I waited. I pressed the power button. Nothing happened. Like no light, no nothing.
Totally dead.
Totally dead. So I plugged it in, waited a few minutes, turned it on. It came up. All right. Literally 1% battery life. So it had died overnight. I had to get work done. So I did some work for a couple hours and I figured I'd look this up later. But later in the day, I opened the notification pane and I put this on Twitter. In fact, I have a link to this somewhere. But I had at 1:20 in the morning, the power management part of Windows issued a warning to me via notification that I might want to plug it in because the battery's about to die. And that thing had, even though I had closed the lid, it didn't do what it normally does. It had gone in, it just ran. And this thing only gets 3 to 4 hours of battery life because it is a DGPU, I guess. And it died. Now, the problem isn't that happened, although that is a problem. The problem is that I never know what's going to happen. That's one of the things that happened. It's not the only thing, and it's not the same every time. And it is that kind of unreliability that I want to see exercised from the PC platform. And it's the reliability of what Apple has done on ARM, on Apple Silicon, that I want for us, right? Because there have been times on this trip where I haven't touched this thing for 3 or 4 days. Doesn't matter how long it is.
Nope.
I open the thing up, it fires 100% of the time, fires on.
Yeah.
And the battery has not gone down any meaningful, maybe 1 or 2%.
Right.
It is the way you want things to work.
What you would expect.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable.
Your expectations are now so low.
When you spend this much, I know it's like, you paid for this thing, right? Like you should expect it to actually work, right? Especially when it's an expensive premium device. I just don't want it to be running Mac OS. That's the downfall for this thing. It's like, I love what they've done with that stuff. Mac OS I could do without. Like I really do prefer Windows. I really do. I know people don't believe it or something, but I really do.
You do. It's absolutely
sure I do. So Copilot plus PC. Yeah. We got a whole year coming here where we're going to see a bunch of things happen. We're going to talk about 24H2 later in the Windows segment, but as far as hardware goes, obviously we're going to have more Copilot plus PCs from other chipset makers, right? Like AMD and Intel. That will happen. Like I said, the chips those guys are putting out are getting dramatically better. Are they, the efficiency of a Snapdragon or an Apple Silicon chip? Probably not. But you know what? They finally got the message. There's a whole story around Intel and the radical changes that they're making with Lunar Lake, which is the next version.
Right.
And Lunar Lake is fascinating for all kinds of reasons. But one of them is that, remember, Intel first shifted, in the recent era, Intel first shifted architectures with the 12th gen chips. Those are the first hybrid chipsets where they had performance and efficiency cores, adopting the kind of the basics of what ARM chips deliver. That lasted for 2 gen. Meteor Lake happened, completely different architecture, MPU, dramatically better GPU. But like I said, in all the reviews I've done, weird reliability and performance problems, horrible battery life comparatively, and one of the, again, I didn't finish this article, but I went back and I looked at all the HP Spectre X360 reviews I did over the years. And there are some differences with OLED versus IPS and all that kind of stuff. So we could make accommodations for that. But battery life fell off a cliff with the most recent gen, which, wait for it, is based on what chipset? A Meteor Lake.
Meteor Lake.
Horrible.
Meteor Lake's a bit of a pig.
But it's also a weird lame duck one-off now because they did this major shift and now they're doing it again. So there will never be more of these things. This is it. Yeah. They're out in the world, crapping everything up for everybody, ruining it.
Well, and if you bought one, like it's never going to happen again. Like it's a different.
It's just over. Yeah. So this is maybe this will drive a hardware upgrade cycle. Like I have this weird computer I bought in 2023 or 24. I don't know what happened. Like it's really bad. And they're like, we have the solution. You're not going to like it. Yeah. It's going to involve spending about $1,300. Just get another one. It's like Brad once reviewed Destiny 2 and he said it solved all of the problems with the original. And I said, really? Can I get it for free if I have the original? No. He says, no, you got to buy the new game. I said, then it didn't solve any problems. Like it fixed them somewhere else. That doesn't solve my problems. But I do think, will this make some meaningful difference in what might have happened otherwise with hardware upgrades in the next 12 months? Oof, I don't know. We're going to find out, right? Or are we? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know.
What a world. You want me to just do a little commercial here since we've been talking
but before that, let's just, because we could almost just wind this up.
Wind it up.
I posted 2 pictures on Twitter, both of which are linked to in the notes before the first ad break. The first one is the error message that I got on the HP with the Meteor Lake processor, which is just, it's like somebody who doesn't like you knows they're dying and they leave a nasty gram for you to read after they're dead is what that reads as. But the second one is the beautiful one because I've told this story before, which is that Terry Myerson, when he started Microsoft again down the path of ARM with Windows 10 on ARM and partnering with Qualcomm, said that his goal was only to get rid of those effing Intel stickers that were on PCs, as he called it. He didn't care if Qualcomm or Intel or AMD won. He just wanted those stickers gone. So I grabbed this from a picture it's a guy from Qualcomm, unfortunately. I was so proud of his new computer and there's 3 stickers on it. I'm like, mission accomplished, Terry. There are no Intel stickers on the new Qualcomm-based Copilot Plus PCs.
There are 3 Qualcomm stickers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great. Yeah. So huge improvement. If you don't want a sticker on the computer other than, digging your nails off, trying to get them off, buy a Surface and then you'll have a whole nother world of hurt to worry about. But Surface laptops don't have stickers.
This HP has one Intel vPro sticker.
Yeah, so
I always take those off, though. You can take them off. Right?
Yeah, so the one I have has the same one sticker.
Right.
Stickers are like crapware, Leo. You get less when you have a nice computer.
Right.
When you buy a consumer thing, it looks like a NASCAR vehicle with like all the branding on it and stuff.
Because it is. It's an ad.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Because that's why it's there. So
right.
That's right. The reason stickers are there has nothing to do with technical reasons or knowing what's in a computer. It's better for it's just not. It's a couple of bucks.
I feel like I don't want to take it out because it's like the mattress tag. You just it might be under penalty of law.
The mattress police are going to come. There is a federal PC sticker police organization that randomly knocks on doors. Make sure you didn't take those things off.
Okay, and those stickers are still on there.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I don't know if I have to send this back to HP or not. So I'm not going to take this off.
They won't care if you take it off.
They just put another one on, right?
If you find it offensive, and you should,
they'll send it to Paul.
Yeah,
it'll be
exactly.
Yeah, they'll put about.
You can
4
buy
more
some.
on.
There's a gel liquid thing you can buy.
Goo Gone. I love Goo Gone.
Yeah, that is very good for.
I use that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, it just came right off.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah. Now I've got Intel inside.
Did you do that with your fingernail?
Yeah.
Oh,
and there's not even any residue.
My fingernail would pop.
You know why? Because they're the metallic type, and they just kind of pry off.
I think some of these are like.
I was going to do this
embedded into the anodized aluminum. Like you'll strip it off, and the color will. Yeah, there you go. That's
with Richard in Germany. It's probably not a good.
Like too soon. Too soon.
Always too soon. It'll be too soon forever. I'll just do the hip tab, the trim, the hipster.
Gooby Gone Girl would be a.
No, I look like I belong in Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
there you
go. Oh, there we go. Gooby Gone. That's it. Gooby Gone. Gooby Gone. It's orange peel extract.
Yes.
And I have it. Sure. Yeah, and I have a bottle of it. I squirt it on everything.
Does not taste like orange. Take it from me.
Put it on my hot dogs.
How would you know that?
Put it on a currywurst.
It tastes like currywurst is what it tastes like. It's exactly what it tastes like.
It's slightly less sweet.
But if you've got Elmer's glue in your pizza, there's nothing like it. Yep.
It's binder. That's all it is.
All it is. All right.
Now I can do an ad.
Yeah, why not?
Please.
Go for it.
Please.
Pay the bills. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually from a company I really like, and these guys are so nice. I'm going to talk to them later today, in fact. Melissa, the data quality experts since 1985. You know, these guys have been advertising with us for, 5 years or something. They're believers in what we do, and so I really, I really support them, but I also believe in what they do. Because if you're in any business, you know that your customer list or your supplier list, those address lists that you have, those are so important, so valuable. And what you might forget is that over time they decay, they fall apart. People move, emails change, phone numbers change. So Melissa is a great way to validate those addresses. Melissa's global, worldwide, address verification and validation service verifies addresses for 240 plus countries and territories. More than 200. I didn't even know there were 240. Rich has been at all 240, I think. By doing this, Melissa helps you improve deliverability and reduce costly errors, boost your address data accuracy. That's important. You're sending stuff to the wrong address. You're wasting your time and money. It'll also increase your delivery speed and, most importantly, boost your ROI. And Melissa has solutions in every industry, whether it's healthcare, they better data for better patient care and increased revenue, whether it's e-commerce, create a better customer experience, reduce shopping cart abandonment, and get the product to the right destination. Financial services, CRM, insurance, real estate. Melissa's got it for that and so many more. Be safe, be compliant, be secure with Melissa. They treat your data like gold. Data privacy and security are their highest priorities. Melissa's solutions and services are GDPR and CCPA compliant. They meet SOC 2 and HIPAA high trust standards for information security management. I mean, they really do it right. Go to the website, just check all the certs. You'll see it, no matter what your industry, even if you're in government, Melissa's got you covered. Melissa just launched a cool all-in-one lookup that works in Safari and Chrome. Or I presume any Chrome-compatible browser, like Opera, like Paul's favorite, Opera. You add it as an extension in your browser and then highlight an address anywhere on a web page or a company name or a phone or email. Control-click on Mac or right-click in Chrome on the text to open the context menu and select Melissa all-in-one lookup. It basically adds that as part of your right-click menu. The all-in-one lookup opens in a new tab, verifying the highlighted text, address, phone, email, company name, using Melissa's verification products. It does that in the background. That alone, just a simple, useful thing to have on your system so you can verify it. Make sure, do we have the right phone number? How often do you mistype a number, right? Get started today, 1,000 records clean for free, melissa.com/twit. melissa.com/TWIT. Melissa. They're great people. We really think the world of them. In fact, I think Lisa might be talking with them. Yeah, she's talking to Greg right now. Hi, Greg. Melissa. All right, back to the show we go. And let's say hi to Paul Thurrott, who is in Mexico City, and in Berlin, Richard Campbell, and move on to our next topic, which is, I don't know what.
Dun, dun, dun.
Are we talking about Windows again on Windows Weekly? What is this?
What? Windows 11,
Yeah.
which is Windows 12.
Remember before there was Copilot, there was this other Windows stuff? We're going to talk about that stuff.
Oh, that. No. Who cares about that? No one cares about that.
They should, because that's like 99% of what's happening in the world right now. So,
Okay. Yeah, all this AI stuff is really just, early adopters.
Well, I mean, even
in Apple's case, nobody's using it. You can't. It's all marketing. It's all hype.
It's going to be interesting to see the world looks like in a year, when we finally have everything we've ever wanted, I guess, and no one's using it still, I guess we'll see. Who knows?
We got it all and nobody cares.
And nobody cares. Yeah. So, so I mentioned before the situation with 24H2 last week and how Microsoft resumed the rollout of 24H2 in the release preview channel, and how if you still can, they have never taken this away. If you download the latest release preview ISO, you can use it to upgrade your stable version of Windows 11 to a stable version of 24H2. Use Windows Update to get it up to date. You'll be on the stable path month to month like everyone else, right? Okay, so there's that. Since we last met on this bat channel, Microsoft released new beta and dev builds last week. Dev had nothing new to it. Yeah, dev was nothing new, but some new features in beta. They continue to add features to that share pane no one even knows about. I love that. If you're using PhoneLink, which I assume I'm going to talk about in here somewhere, because I have struggled over the past 2 weeks, I guess, to document for the book the different experiences you get in PhoneLink if you have an iPhone, an Android phone, or a flagship Samsung phone, and or a select group of other phones. It's unbelievable how different these things are. But anyway, we'll get to that. If you are using PhoneLink successfully, God bless you. I don't know how you did it, but you'll be able to share to your phone from the share pane soon. And I don't know what that means. Who cares? If you, another feature has been around since, I want to say, is it Vista? No, Windows 7 jump lists, right? Are available in Windows 11, but it's Windows 11, so they're not available everywhere. So if you right click a icon on your taskbar, you'll get a jump list. If you right click, let me just make sure this is true before I say it. Not so much. Yeah, it depends on the app, but if you right click an app in the all apps list in the start menu, get a jump list. But if you right click an app in the main part of the start menu and pinned, it's no jump list. And that's coming, apparently. They're testing that. So, progress is progress, people. That's all I'm saying. Every bit of consistency is welcome. And then today they released new beta and release preview builds, interestingly, which tells me that release preview build is probably the week D update that we're going to get. Let me just look at the calendar. Next Tuesday? Yep. Next Tuesday. Okay. Right. Yeah. Not a lot new going on there. Copilot as an app. I feel like we've been talking about that for about a month now. That should be pretty much everywhere soon. So that's happening. Here's an interesting thing that happened while Leo was doing the ad. Microsoft has paused another build.
Oh God!
Yep, and this one is the last week's Canary build. And the post I saw, Microsoft doesn't explain why, but the post I saw, I was wondering. I'm like, would they speculate? Because I know why they paused it. It's for the same reason they paused the release preview build from last time in 24H2 itself. It's because it has recall in it. OMG. They paused it because people were using it as a workaround to get recall while recall was not available.
Interesting.
So yeah, yep. I'm positive that's why. So when this thing comes out again, or they probably just release a new build, this case, there's not going to be, I bet there will be no recall in it. That's
how hard do you think it is to rip recall out?
Yeah.
How hard is it? Deeply buried in the operating system.
Right? It also depends on how they implemented it. It's clear that everybody's going to want this. So
there are going to be vestigial parts left, but the core engine and all the stuff that would actually make it work, the stuff that would actually do anything is gone, in 24H2. So,
it doesn't have to be much. You can disable it at pretty
you could just disable it. You might have all the code there, but
they just took one of the wires off the battery. I think it's just the car doesn't start.
Put it up on blocks and take the oil out. Yeah.
Yeah. Put a banana in the tailpipe. That's pretty much as Windows software development writ large, right? Just stick a banana in the tailpipe.
I got a feature flag for you.
Yeah. Well, could you describe UWP app development in one sentence? Yeah, they stuck a banana in the tailpipe. Now, sometimes it works, Sometimes it smells like bananas. I don't know why.
That's something you do in Makunji. I think it is.
Knock over cows and we stick bananas in tailpipes. Okay. So, I have expressed great frustration with a lot of things related to Windows 11 over the last couple of years, and on the flip side, I will say one of the more interesting things that's happened is kind of moving in the opposite direction, which is we have multiple versions of Windows 11. They're different version numbers, but they're actually identical, right? So today you could have Windows 11 22H2 fully updated, and you could have on a different computer. It could be the same computer but a different PC, right? The same model.
Yep.
You might have 23H2. Yep, they're identical, right? They don't have to be, but they can be. Like the point is, those things they're identical under the covers. And this solves an interesting problem because, Microsoft's customers, a lot of them, especially in the business side, don't want to install new versions of Windows, even though the line between a new version of Windows and just like a monthly cumulative update is kind of vague at this point. And, as we've talked, they've improved this process a lot. They've made it a lot easier, a lot more streamlined, a lot more reliable, right? So it doesn't really matter anymore. So you have this audience of people who can contentedly know they're running the last version of Windows and not upgrading. And they love that. But they also have all the features they would have had if they upgraded. And if they did upgrade, they wouldn't even notice a difference because they're literally exactly the same.
Right.
Thing is, we have this third new version of Windows coming. It's technically here today, actually, with the Copilot Plus PC, but you could get it, like I said, yourself on any computer. So we have 22, 23, and 24H2. Right. 24H2 is different from 22 and 23H2, right? There are new features. You right click on anything actually, but let's say you right click on a file is the best way to do this. Remember that we used to talk about the little hieroglyphic icons that are in that.
Yeah, the one you don't think about it until you can't find.
And then you don't know what you're like. What is this thing? You can mouse over them to get a little.
What I'm looking for.
Yeah, one of these must do it. Let's click one randomly. So in 24H2, they actually get this label. These things. Good. Yeah. So they're labeled. No, I mean, they're not tooltips. I mean, there are tooltips, but they're labeled.
Actually have the words on them.
They actually have just like a normal icon, like we would have had in 1995 or whatever.
It would be cool. They should put it in the list with all the other things.
You're talking crazy talk. 25H2.
I'm a madman. I'm wild.
Let me throw 25H2 at you. So maybe someday. But here's the thing. There are other new features, obviously. I mean, it's not just the right click thing, but 22H2 is going to go out of support on October 8, 2024, which is Patch Tuesday.
Right.
We know that 24H2 is going to arrive sometime in that September-October timeframe.
Yep.
I would say October 8 is a pretty good target date. Now, it's Microsoft. They're never going to hit that date, but sometime in a plus or minus 2 month timeframe, we are going to have 24H2. So for this,
but I would argue more people get their hands on it and want to try and sync it with Ignite. If I was them.
Okay. I mean, the way things usually happen, well, we'll see, right? That usually is not even a word you can use anymore. It's likely that they will ship a preview version in October, if not September. And then, yes, the date would be November is when it goes out in stable, or it's finally being fully deployed, or however they term it. So, yeah, that does make sense.
Right.
But for a brief,
is November 18 to 22. So that's like right where you'd figure they'd land.
It's nice and late in the month, too, which is good for them. Yeah. Actually, the later the better for software updates.
I'm just glad they're on top of .NET Comp. That makes my life somewhat simpler.
And makes everyone, come on, that's better for everybody. That's great. They should never have done those back or at the same time.
Bad. I think it was a mistake.
It was a mistake, yeah. It's too bad. Anyway, so for a little period of time here, from June through October, right, we're going to have 3 stable supported versions of Windows 11.
Yep.
October, one of them will go away. Depending on how things go, I guess technically we could have a short period of time where we have only 1, but eventually we're going to have 2 again. And the thing is, 22H2 and 23H2 are going to get all the 24H2 features before 24H2. I know. Now, there's an asterisk that because 24H2, as we have it today, is not the final version of it. 24H2, it doesn't have all the features, right? There will be additional features that get shipped over the course of this year. In fact, that thing I just discussed, your phone and share or whatever these things, these changes they're making now, some of these will eke their way into 24H2, right? So these things, they shift like sand, things change, but functionally, there is every reason to believe that 23H2 eventually, and then 24H2 they'll just be the same, right? And this summer we'll have this magical confluence of planets, like when they align and then the world's going to end, where 22H2, 23H2, and 24H2 could be identical. Now, they do release new features every month, so it's possible that won't be the case. But the feature set of 24H2, as we know it today, is in fact coming to 22H2 and 23H2. So you will get this stuff. Copilot as an app, the right click thing I just mentioned, et cetera. And that's most of that whole bullet list. I guess I went through most of that. So that's where we are in time, right? Copilot Plus features are on top of that, right? Those require very specific hardware components. Yeah. So that's not going to change. And, in case it's not obvious, I'm sure we talked about this, but, Copilot Plus PC is not a version of Windows. It's a set of features on top of Windows. It could be added to any product version of Windows today that is Home and Pro, I guess. Although I suspect if you were a commercial customer and you bought an HP or Lenovo consumer commercial device through the channel, I bet you would, sign in with an Enter ID. I get an Enterprise Edition. I bet you'd still get those features too, right? Because they just sit on top of Windows.
Yeah. The question is, will they enable it?
Yep. And if you do sign in with an Enter ID, that means you'll have to sign in at the app level with a Microsoft account to get those NPU-based features, right? I talked about the icon that's in Paint. Recall will require it, et cetera, et cetera. So there'll be some of that. So have fun, everybody. And then I talked about this power management issue I had with a computer. What I didn't mention,
battery, which we know exactly what happened.
It's only happened once. I mean, we can all stray one time. We all get one time.
We've both had machines that we closed up and stuck in our bags. Yes. By the time we got to the hotel, the bag was about to burst into flames.
The worst one is when you put a bag, a PC in a bag overnight, go to bed, get up early in the morning, fly to the airport, open up your bag in the plane, and warm air wafts into your face as you open your bag. You're like, oh.
You were the waft of an entire battery used up in an insulated space.
What is that smell? It's the smell of dead electronics. Yeah. That's what C-3PO smells like when he's dead. It's not good.
The whole thing.
It's not good.
Put a banana in his tailpipe and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that thing on his chest was. It was where you stick the banana. Yeah. The restraining bolt. I know. Nerds. Anyway.
That's called the restraining bolt. If you remember, Luke removed that, and then, of course, then we had this.
It's like a corporate policy and a hardware. Yeah, I get it. Listen, no one's a bigger hardware nerd. I mean, a Star Wars nerd than me. I get it.
Luke used his policy editor wrench and removed it.
What I didn't mention was that I actually had two other power management related failures with two other computers on this trip. Different gen Intel in two cases. One was AMD based. One of them was my wife's computer. Now, like I said, normal human being, right? She comes out to me one day and she goes, "Hey, my computer won't come on. Can you help me with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then I press a couple of buttons. I'm like, "Nope, can't help you. I don't know what's going on. It's not starting up,
So I plugged it in. Of my abilities right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the expert, and that's pretty much what I got. Did you try turning it off? She's like, "It doesn't turn on. I can't turn it off."
So do you? Probably you guys do the same thing I do with Lisa.
Yeah.
Which is, she says, like the other day, she said, "I'm throwing out this Apple Watch. The battery dies." I said, "Well, I'm sure you could." She said, "I don't understand why it's only charging 75% and it dies. But I'm sure there's a setting." She said, "No, I said, and do you I'm probably, what I should do is say, okay, well, let me, I'll take a look at it. We'll do some research. I'll get Micah something. But instead I just go, yeah, I don't know.
Right. You know what this is? It's like the car breaks down. Yeah. Your car breaks down, you open the lid, stand there with your wife, get your hands on your hips, and you're like, that doesn't look good. And you have no idea. You don't know what you're looking at.
Now,
there could be anything in there.
I will go get a screwdriver, because sometimes threatening it with a screwdriver works.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know what's that. I don't know.
Tap it.
But you gotta throw up the effort,
Tap it a little.
So I plugged it in and let it sit there for a while, hit some buttons, nothing happened. I gave her another laptop, she got back to work.
There you go.
And at some point, I think she went to the gym or the yoga or whatever she did. And I just walked over to the computer and it's like a light on the thing, and I hit the button, the power came up. I'm like, she came home, I'm like, I fixed it. I did it.
That's what I do too.
It's all bad.
There you go.
And she goes, "How'd you do that?" I said, "Well, you got to really get in there." And I read the manuals.
I mean, listen, I went up to my elbows in this thing. I got greasy. I fixed it because, I'm amazing.
I sacrificed a chicken,
Yep. Yeah, it's Mexico. I mean, why not?
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
There are literally sacrificed chickens within 1 block of my home here. So yes, that's a thing. Yeah. Anyway, the software end of this is, we've joked about this, interns coming in and adding features to Paint and stuff like that. It's not that funny in a way because I feel like that kind of happens. And one of the problems with the quality of the software development that's occurring in the Windows group these days is that there's not a lot of adult oversight. And Windows 10, I don't have one here, but I went back and I looked this up in my book because, like I said, I've been working on this phone link chapter, right? In part because the feature set is improved, and I wanted to make sure it was fully documenting every permutation of the stupid thing. And I can't find a feature in Windows 11. I can't find it, right? It's not on the Microsoft account site. It's not in Windows. I'm like, what's going on here? And I looked in my book, and in the Windows 10 book, I write about how this works. And what happened was in Windows 11, they updated the UI and they got rid of a feature. And that feature is how you remove an Android device from your Microsoft account. So why is that important? If you have an Android phone and you've attached it to your Microsoft account because you're using it with Phone Link, you could uninstall the Link to Windows app, and that would actually do it. That would remove it. That's the one way you can do it today. But if you factory reset, traded in, sold your phone, guess what? You can't get rid of it. So in Windows 11, they changed the name of this, but there is an interface. If you go into Bluetooth devices, Bluetooth and devices, mobile devices, there's a button called Manage Devices, and the Manage Mobile Devices Windows comes up, and it shows me all of the phones that are attached to my account, my Microsoft account, Android phones. It doesn't work with iPhone because of Apple. You can disable it, which means that phone won't appear in Phone Link, but that's only on, I guess that would be everywhere, but you can't remove it. That used to be part of Windows. It's gone. So some college student or whatever is like, look, I made this beautiful WinUI version of that interface. It's gorgeous. Look at it. And you're like, yeah, it's beautiful. How come I can't remove the phone? I got to go back to school. It's September. See you later. Yeah. So there's an interface in the Microsoft account website for this. No phones come up there right now. If you've added them this way, there's actually a couple other ways, but there's no way to remove your phone anymore. So if you don't have your phone, you're going to be looking at that in the list for the rest of your life, unless Microsoft fixes it. So these are the little, people talk about like the control panel is one of those little pet peeve things. Like, could they just get rid of this? Could they just modernize this? And they kind of chip away at it in every version, and they don't really ever get there. But there's a million of these in Windows. This is the problem. Someone doesn't know what they're doing. They compiled. We always joke about that. It looks nice. It's WinUI. It's pretty. And they ship it, and it's like, yeah, but what about nobody? No, I guess I'm the only one.
It's not a thing. You're fine. That guy going back to school, nobody cares.
So yet another thing to remember. If you're using this feature, right? If it's an Android phone, you're going to want to you got to uninstall that app before you sell the phone or whatever you do with it. Yeah.
You can always just pave the machine, but that just seems a little dramatic.
No, but it's still up in the cloud, like it's attached to your account.
It'll resync back.
Yeah, it's still up there. You can't. There's no way. That's why it should be, and it was on the Microsoft account website as well, but it's gone. I don't know. Maybe those things are tied together. I don't know. But no one's talking about it. I just noticed it, and this is if you're wondering why I didn't deliver this app chapter update like a week ago, it's like stuff. It's stuff like this.
This is the battle.
Yeah, exactly. And I already mentioned the power management stuff. Classic.
You have to be a masochist to write books about Windows. You just
do that. Nobody does that.
You're crazy.
Yeah, I told you. The guy who got me into writing, we wrote that 1,000-page Delphi Super Bible.
I got it right there. I'm looking at it.
We were working on this book at 3:00 in the morning at his house. I remember I used to always go home in the morning when my wife was leaving for work. We'd kind of high five each other on the way by. But this guy looked at me and he goes, "What kind of people write books like this?" And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" He goes, "There's this API that they created. They didn't document it properly. There's probably 1,100, functions or whatever or objects." He's like, "Why are we doing this? Like, what? We're like two people from Phoenix. Like, what? Like, what is?
Why did we have to fix this?
I was like, get back to work, Gary. Just get back to work. Shut up and get back to work.
What right do we have to write a book this
Well, how did it fall on us?
heavy?
That book is. Good Lord.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't fall asleep reading that thing.
Animal with that thing.
Well, then, so he follows that up with this.
I know.
Yeah, another tome.
Yeah, I mean, the Windows 11 field guide is about 1,100 pages long, and it's not complete. There's still more to write.
So the Delphi
We'll call it
Super
the
Bible. The index
pressed
alone
chicken
is like
combination.
400 pages.
Yeah.
The index
Well, it's an
alone is-
API list. I mean, it's
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Those are the days.
Oh, wait
Anyhow.
a minute, though. Good news. It comes with a CD.
Oh, there's a CD. Yeah, nice.
I gotta get
I hope
you.
it has the first Delphi program I ever wrote was something that was just said click here, and if you went to click it, the button would move away from the mouse cursor.
I hate those programs.
Because I wanted everyone else to be as insane as I am.
So nutty. Next time you're up here, please, I want you to sign the CD.
I'll just write, I'm sorry, comma, Paul.
Yeah.
And if you just look,
That CD is old enough now. I expect if you put a pen to it or a marker to it, it'll crumble.
Yeah. It's like it's
if you
made of
just look at the
papyrus.
author pictures of Paul and Brian Livingston,
Guy with all that
this is like
hair.
before and after.
I had no comment on that one.
I'm sorry. That's so mean. I'm sorry.
No, it's painfully accurate.
But the good
This
news
the
is,
problem.
thanks to it, you're a millionaire, and you have both.
Oh yeah, no, actually the book writing thing has really worked out. Yeah,
it's really lucrative.
if I could ever count how much time I spent on this, I would have been better off
$1
working
an hour,
at
buddy.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Oh no, by an order of magnitude, easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you would
But
have.
then I would be greasy and smell like hamburgers. So I don't know.
There you go.
You know, it's because you're the authority that you are. You get to do this show, so it all worked out in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, let's take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about AI because we haven't talked about AI quite enough yet.
I couldn't agree more.
Enough at all.
I couldn't agree more.
Our show today brought to you by, you're cracking me up today, brought to you by our friends at ACI Learning. You know the name. I know you know the name. They're the providers, the people behind IT Pro. We've talked about them for years. In fact, I know a lot of you specifically are graduates of IT Pro, or taken courses there or have certs because of IT Pro. Binge-worthy video-on-demand IT and cybersecurity training. And these days, who doesn't need that, right? And if you're a business and your team is not, studying constantly to learn, you need IT Pro. The beauty of it is it's a benefit. The team considers it like, 401k. This is a benefit that you give them. You get, and it works for everybody. You get a team that is on top of it, is up to date, is smart. They get training they love in subjects they're really interested in, and they get they're up. What is the technical, the business word? They're upskilled. With IT Pro, you're going to get certification ready with access to their video library, more than 7,250 hours of learning. Not old, not out of date. It's all up to date because they're always making more because the tests change, the programs change, the certs change. So you constantly, talk about writing books all the time. They have 7 studios going Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, constantly making more material. If you get a premium training plan, which I recommend, you'll also get practice tests, which is a really good way to prepare for a cert. Take the exam before you take the exam. I can tell you from personal experience, you go in there with confidence. You go, well, no, I've aced it already. I know what, it's not the same questions, but you know how it works. You know what kinds of questions you're going to get. It makes a big difference. And you can keep taking the practice exams till you're ready. So, that helps. You also get these virtual labs, which let you set up, configure, mess up, whatever you want to do. Windows servers, Windows clients, all in an HTML5 browser. You don't even need a Windows machine to do this. So and MSPs love that because they can test out software too for their clients before they install. IT Pro from ACI Learning. It makes training fun because the training videos are produced in an engaging format. They call it edutaining. I like to think of it as experts, people who are working in the field, sharing their passion with you. And that's what's engaging. That's what makes you love it. because they love it, and it's communicable. It's catching you. Their love and passion for the field makes you go, this is really cool. It is. Take your IT or cyber career to the next level. Be bold and train smart with ACI Learning. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit. Go.acilearning.com/twit. Use the offer code TWIT30. You will get 30% off either your first month, or if you know you want this, sign up for a year, 30% off the whole year of IT Pro training. Go.acilearning.com/twit. The offer code is TWIT30. That is a great offer. And we thank ACI Learning for supporting the work, the very important work Paul and Richard are doing today on Windows Weekly.
Watch out, Mother Teresa. We're coming for you.
Saving the world.
With AI. One AI at a time.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Yep.
Long awaited the AI segment, as if we hadn't been talking about AI at all.
And weird
but this is...
I did a keynote on the perils and promise of AI, and the first version I did of that talk at the Vatican. 4 cardinals.
Interesting.
In 2017.
Having a little existential crisis there, are we?
I just wanted to review what I was thinking about it in 2017 compared to right now. Good Lord.
Geez. Yeah. Burke just sent me a funny
a picture of it.
Editorial, I guess, about some guy ranting about AI, which is actually beautiful because he's right. But anyhow. Yeah, so we talked a lot about Microsoft AI. I don't know if you knew this or other companies in the industry. And they're talking about AI too. And as we mentioned up front, WWDC was last week. It feels like 2 months ago. They have rolled out the first betas of their new platforms. None of them have any of that AI stuff in them. And that's because, Apple's on this slow boat thing, which I find to be, mature and adult-like and nice, because I live in the Microsoft space and I see what it's like when you, throw someone on a bike down a hill and take away the handbrakes,
Yeah. They want to lead. Which is,
but sometimes leading doesn't always mean first.
Yeah.
Anyway, in honor of Apple CEO Tim Cook, I think of this as slow cooked.
Nice.
Well, you're welcome. And
Like,
yeah, I know. I'm a little beat up today. But Apple will release its new platforms, iOS, iPadOS, and macOS probably in September. It will have some form of this stuff in it. There'll be more over the course of the year. Some of it's coming in 2025, right? A lot of the Siri stuff, for example, I guess is going to kind of be a late follower when it comes to this stuff. And of course, they're going to have new hardware too with better MPUs and everything else. So Apple's on this little, schedule, which I actually find to be refreshing. I know that's not the normal Apple dynamic. A lot of people in our space will criticize Apple for moving so slowly.
Yeah.
But I think that I like it. I like what they're doing. It's good.
I mean, part of me wonders if they had a choice. They clearly cannot be first, so they might as well be cautious.
Well, I mean, I would argue this is actually kind of how they do things all the time. It's just that because it is AI and there's so much of it, it is going to happen over a broader period of time. But I always use the example of the iPhone 7 Pro or Plus, I guess, whatever. So the first dual camera system they did, one of the features they promised was portrait mode, right, where it would bokeh the background. Mm-hmm. And that didn't ship in beta until I think 2 months after the iOS version and the phone shipped. And then it didn't ship in stable until some months later. And that was just like one feature, So, I mean, the fact that they're able to, or presumably will be able to do all this stuff, whatever period of time, I think is, I think it's fine.
Yep.
I think it's good. I think it's proper. Apple has published some very interesting stuff in the wake of WWDC if you're a developer. And one of the things they published was the way that they trained their AI and the way they will train things going forward. Obviously, they've pledged not to use any customer data or user interactions to train their foundation models. They did do a web crawler thing, like everyone else does, because that's what people do. But I think the only issue with the web crawling thing was that they didn't really say they were doing it. And now they're letting people opt out of it. But they already crawled the web,
Too late. We already have it.
Yeah. I mean, but
we got it.
We have opt out. I mean, don't look at the timing too closely. So that's fine. I think that's all, whatever. Compared to OpenAI, these guys are literally angels and should be sainted. It's a completely different company.
So you're keeping your subscription. You're not going to.
Well, we're gonna get to the subscription in a moment. So
okay.
That's coming. The other thing was, Apple. Steve Jobs used to do the one more thing.
Yeah.
Announcing ChatGPT in their systems was a lot less than that, but it came in the same place.
It's kind of a throwaway
presentation.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, good night, everybody. ChatGPT something. See you later.
Sam Altman's in the audience. We just want to say hi to Sam and ChatGPT. Bye.
Yep. Yeah, see you later. But the only thing that didn't make that weird was we already knew what was happening, right? We've gotten so many leaks from Mark Gurman and others. Like we knew this was happening. We know they're talking to Google still, and we'll probably have Gemini models in here as well at some point. But the interesting thing that's come out since WWDC, which again was 2 months ago, is that there's no money changing hands. Like Apple's getting the
free.
Advantages of
free.
Yeah. Well, it's not free. It's like free. They're giving them exposure, Leo. See, it's like what does that mean? Like prominent placement in the App Store or something? Like
I get people asking me to write for them all the time. They said, "We'll give you exposure, Leo.
We'll give you exposure." Like that's what I need. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm already pretty well exposed.
Leo, we're gonna put you on the map.
Oh, now you're talking.
And we'll see. But this deal is interesting for a million reasons. But we know that Google is now paying Apple like tens of billions of dollars a year for search placement. It's going to be, they're going to renegotiate things. It's going to be interesting to see how things fall out. And not that we'll ever hear about it until some future court case. But I think this will impact the Google agreement. And there's some worries at Microsoft too, right? Like, how do you think those guys were feeling? I mean, they knew it was coming, but watching Apple roll out all this stuff and then using the AI that they paid for.
Right.
It's like how I feel about my daughter. She's got a great life and I pay for it. So that's nice. It's good for her. Okay. So I have been testing various paid AI subscriptions. I still pay for and use the Copilot Plus subscription, Copilot Pro Plus, whatever it's called, I pay for it. I use it mostly for image generation. I've never used it for writing. I want to think about that for a second, but I've never written anything with it. I think I've
not even email.
No. I mean, I've experimented with it, right? I've asked it to summarize
very angry emails and handed it to ChatGPT and saying,
make this less like me.
Make this more corporate speak, please.
No,
it takes me a day to derage an email, but ChatGPT will knock it out pretty quickly.
I plan to use it on earnings reports, legal documents, like a FTC sues some company just to get it. Because, you get like an 88-page legal document. These things are written in a very specific kind of language. They're hard to, it's hard to get to the point sometimes. So I will use it for that. But as far as like writing goes, never. But I was paying for whatever the Gemini paid thing is with Google Workspace and then open, ChatGPT Plus or whatever that's called. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't find them as useful. So I stopped paying for those. That frees up like $40 a month. So I'm like, what else could I pay for? So I started looking at the Adobe stuff because the one thing that AI has really worked out for me has been the image creation stuff. And I've been using, and I've been using Affinity Photo for the past several months, the latest version. And I love it. It works across platform. It's really nice. But the thing it doesn't have is even like the basic AI, like element removal stuff. It doesn't have any AI, right? So if you imagine like a photo and there's maybe some text under just in the photo and you want to remove that, but have it cleanly fill in the background, you can't do that easily with Affinity. It's really hard. Even Adobe Photoshop Elements does a good job with that kind of thing. So I was like, let me go see what they have, and so Adobe has approximately 117 SKUs of CC subscriptions. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
But in the thing I care about, which is basically Photoshop, it kind of boiled down to two subscriptions. There was a Photoshop subscription, which I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was $31, $32 a month if you paid for it month to month. And then I'm going to say $25-ish a month if you agreed to like a year.
Right. 300 for the year.
Yeah, you get, save money that way. And I was like, still, that's a lot of money. I could just, I could just use Elements.
And
I don't care.
Photoshop is the visual studio of visual editing.
It absolutely is. And
all the knobs and many more.
I know, too many knobs. Many knobs. So, and
your favorite person, Lena Khan, is suing them for making.
We're going to get. Hold on, don't ruin ruin the surprise.
Okay,
that was a bomb.
But I know they're doing all this AI stuff. I get there. They talk to me a lot. I know it is kind of amazing. I'm like, oof, I don't know. But they have a photography subscription that gives you Photoshop Beta, which is early AI stuff,
and it's $10
cross-platform.
Yeah,
Photoshop for the web.
Mm-hmm.
And Lightroom, both versions, classic and regular, and it's actually $20 a month, right? So, but $20 a month is what I was paying just for OpenAI or for Google. So I'm like, you know what, this looks good.
That's a good point.
And then I went into it, and it didn't matter how you chose it. You could go month to month or pay for the year, and it was still $20 a month. I'm like, nice. So I went month to month because I don't know if I want to keep this. And then I hit buy, and then 2 seconds later, Lena Khan sued them, and because these subscriptions are deceptive. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I just signed up for one of these subscriptions. What are you talking about? So I went back to look at it, and sure enough, exactly what they described. Yep. The reason it's the same price is because I have secretly agreed to pay for this for a year. And if I cancel, they're going to give me some onerous early cancellation charge, which is exactly the charge against Adobe.
Yes, now they're going to charge you for the year anyway, just up front.
Exactly. You'll be like, look, screw it, I'll just do it. And then you auto renew, and we can play the game again next year.
These negative billing companies, they're just emulating your average ISP.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's like saying they're just emulating Satan. What's your problem? Yeah. Well, Satan isn't that good.
That's the original thinking. This is old school evil.
But the way this ends is maybe this shouldn't be surprising. Mm-hmm. Remember how everyone would get like a Sirius XM subscription with their car? Yep. And it was free, and then 6 months or 9 months, whatever the time frame was.
A huge bill. Yep.
You get a bill, and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing this. You call them up, you're like, I need to cancel this, because you have to call them up. You can't do this on the web, Yep. And they're like, listen, if you agree to stay, we'll do it for like next to nothing. And you're like, oh, all right. You feel like getting a really good deal, right? My wife did that for 7 or 8 years in a row. Like just every year, she's like, I'm canceling it. She's like, they gave it to me for like $30 for the year. I'm like, okay, whatever. So eventually she got tired of doing it and she gave up. But that's what Adobe did to me. So I went to cancel it. I have 7 days to cancel it without any worries. I just did it. So actually I was okay. Yep. And they're like, you know what? What if we gave it to you for $14 a month? I was like, you know what? $14 a month times 12 is approximately the price of a brand new version of Adobe Elements, which I might have bought anyway. Yep. Not on sale. Granted, and I was like, but it's full Adobe and full Photoshop, and I get the beta version, I get the web version, which works in Chromebooks, and I get Lightroom, which I've never really used. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And that's how they get you. And that's what I did. So I'm part of the problem. That's what I'm trying to say. And
you may well get paid too, right? Like it depends on how the settlement goes.
This subscription is paying for itself. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think the DOJ is probably going to squeeze them pretty hard for this.
Yeah, I think so too. I just found it very interesting that the day, well, I guess I tried to cancel the next day, but the day after they were sued by the federal government, they were like, listen, we hear you, but here's the deal. You can't refuse. It's like, okay. Evil.
You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
They are the Microsoft 365 of the creative space, right? I mean, of course they are. And of course they are because they're adding AI to everything. I mentioned earlier that there are these AI features in Paint. And this goes back to that Stevie Batish thing. Remember the 3 app models for AI, right? One of them is
inside, outside.
Yeah. And so whether it's beside or inside, you're talking about what I guess we'd call a legacy app, an existing app. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you can, like one of these, you hear this a lot with various software features. Like one of the benefits of this thing is that you can do this thing you want to do without having to go somewhere else, right? Like you're writing and you have to look something up. So you go to Google in your web browser and you Google it and you find it and you go back. Like you don't have to break context, right? Yeah. So in the Paint world, rather, you're creating an image. You want to add some generative AI something for some reason. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go to copilot.microsoft.com or whatever service you're using. You can just do it right in the product. You don't have to break the context, I guess is the way to put it. So Adobe's doing the same thing, right, with their products. And it's getting weird, right? So they have Acrobat, which is the full featured PDF reader, everything, and then they have Acrobat Reader still, which doesn't do anything. Actually, it's a giant ad, but whatever, they still have it. And they're adding generative AI capabilities to these things, so you can create and edit images in a PDF now using text prompts. Because it's something I wouldn't. I'm not saying it would never occur to me, but I mean, you could imagine you're in PowerPoint. Actually, it probably does this, right? You're in PowerPoint. You're like, I need a graphic of a spinning ball or something. In the past, you might have gone to the web, or maybe they have a clip art collection, whatever it might be. Yep. I would imagine Microsoft 365 Copilot, if it doesn't already do it, will probably one day provide something like this, right? You don't leave. And in the Microsoft space, every one of these generative AI features is using, Copilot or Designer or whatever on the back end, right? And I guess, meet people where they are. It makes some sense, but AI is going to be in everything, like GMOs. It's just going to be there. You don't know it's there. It's hurting you. You don't know it, but it's there. Maybe and for some reason now we're all 2 inches shorter than we used to be.
We're not testing it.
And have 3, ears or whatever.
It's your spine. It's compacted.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a spiral. What's your problem? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why you have to complain about everything. And then Brave, the web browser maker, they were early on to this, not quite as aggressive as Opera, but they've had their own search engine for a while, a couple of years, I would say. They have a Leo in-browser AI assistant, right? Because it's in keeping with their Lion theme. We have a Leo too.
You'd think that's the AI I would use, right? But I could see where it would be
I use,
except
you don't, because you probably tried it. So
that's probably why.
Some of these aren't so great. So if you want to make it even less great, like this is the 2 turkeys don't make an eagle thing. Brave Leo will now integrate Brave search results when it makes sense, right, in real time. So if you add something like, I don't know, you ask about your favorite artist or some music artist, it will tell you where they're in concert, and that comes from search, right? It's not part of the AI thing or whatever. So that to me just makes sense. I mean, they're doing AI, they're doing search, so they're in that kind of unholy trinity of browser, search, AI, I guess, and there you go. So if you use Brave, you can do that. I don't use it, frankly. In fact, the whole Brave sidebar thing, I try this and I always end up turning it off. I played around with this when it first was announced last week. I actually put I do this, right? I put the sidebar on for a little while. I hated myself, didn't use it. I would trigger it by mistake. You could have it like when you mouse over, have it pop in. It was always popping up. I hate that. I got rid of it. But if you're a Brave user, and you should be, and you like this stuff or want to use it, or you use Brave Search, et cetera, it's table stakes, I guess, at this point.
Yep. Pretty much.
I am such a fan of Arc. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And
I've turned off all your browser recommendations afterwards because I'm sticking with Arc.
So fair enough. This is only on the Mac, but they did add that kind of live calendar thing up in the little in the favorites bit, which I love.
I'm using it on Windows, but it isn't. There's no parity, so it isn't really
not yet. But it's getting there.
Yeah,
but they're like they literally said going forward, there's gonna be parity.
Oh, that'd be great.
Don't worry about it. We're gonna do this, and then they released a Mac only feature this week. It's like thank you.
Yeah,
it's a small company.
You know what? There are interns everywhere.
It's a small company, and it's written in Swift, which means Windows is not the most propitious environment.
I vaguely respect it. I mean, they pulled it off. It's not like, as an application, you wouldn't use this and think, oh, what is this? Is like a web app or something? What is this?
Yeah. It's beautiful. No, it's gorgeous.
It's a native app. It's great.
Yeah, it's truly native. That's real native.
Yeah, I mean, they did that in Swift.
It's fast. It's
mostly I like it. .NET Pad and Swift. SwiftPad.
Oh, SwiftPad. Ooh. Watch out! You're getting closer to becoming a Mac user all the time.
Let me tell you, if I get this Surface laptop and it doesn't solve the problem, there's gonna be.
What's the problem? That it turns on instantly? Is that your main thing?
It's not just. It just actually work. It just works is what I want. I know that it's a high bar, but
very unreasonable demand.
Yeah, opening the lid, light comes on is one of the things. Consistency would be nice.
I have to say, no, this is the wrong place to
Either
say.
an hour battery life, right? An hour battery life.
Yeah, it was, more than 3.5 hours of battery life would be ideal. I don't know. I'm not.
Apple hardware is so nice.
It is. It is.
I'm
tempted to just do Windows and ARM on the Mac, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm really, I'm trying to resist it. I just put the Mac OS, whatever that Sequoia beta on it.
Wow.
So now it has like
You're
Windows
brave,
7 style snap features, which is kind of fun.
Yes. Isn't that funny?
But it's also like done the Apple way. So it's got there's like a little edge around each window so you can see the background through it. It's like, it's pretty. Like it took them, what is that, 17 years or something?
Well, but there have been many third-party apps that do it. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I had to uninstall the one I was using, which is called Magnet, which works pretty well.
All right, let's take a little break. Go get a tortilla or something. Do you have, when you get hungry, do you just like go out the door and there's a guy?
I literally had the
right there?
This happened less than 48 hours ago. I said to my wife, I can't have any more tacos. I can't do it. We gotta have something. We literally went to an Italian. No, we walked. We got a steak. We went to a steak restaurant, but I was like, I can't.
No more tacos.
If I have another tortilla, I'm gonna kill someone. Like like wrap me up like I can't do it.
How's the Chinese food in Mexico City? You know,
that's okay. That's an interesting question. I've only had it down towards Centro at the same place twice, so I can't tell you. I would love to find a good Chinese restaurant near here. I would love that because we don't have good Chinese food in Pennsylvania. This is a big problem. I go back to Boston. That's the big thing. Like every Thursday of those trips, we go out for Chinese food. Like I miss that so much.
They do have good sushi, though. You said.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a ton of sushi here. It's kind of crazy.
Funny because it's a landlocked city.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like Paris, right? So all the good stuff comes here, and the oceans and the food supply and the water around here is unbelievable.
Yeah,
really, really high quality.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Well, this is a part of the show where I tell people how broke we are, and that's why I'm living on tortillas.
Yeah.
It's just the weirdest thing. I never thought this would happen. I always said to myself from day one, and Paul, you and I have been doing this for 15, 16, 17 years, something like that.
Yep.
From day one, I said, we'll do this until nobody wants to listen and nobody wants to advertise. Because if, the advertisers were paying the bills, I thought that was a fair relationship. That we pick them carefully and they're products that our audience would be interested in. And of course, the amount of money the advertiser pays depends on the number of people. Well, like every podcast in the world these days, the numbers of listeners are going down. I don't think that's us. I don't believe that's us. I think
we need to believe that.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's us. I think that there's just a lot more competition. There's a lot more to, take your time. And then the advertisers have kind of left in droves too. And I think that's because they're very fashion oriented, and the current fashion is influencers, YouTube stars, people like that. The bulk of the money's going in that direction. But what happened was in the last 2 years, actually started really with COVID, but ever since, the revenue number's been going down. And you probably know we've had to cancel shows, we've had to lay off staff, because that I don't have deep pockets, we don't have investors, it's just me. And if I don't have enough money to pay the light bill, then we don't have lights. And I don't want to get in that situation. So you probably heard me talk a little bit about it. We tried it yesterday on Security Now. We'll be doing it with Windows Weekly pretty soon. We're trying a system that will let me go home, let our staff go home. We can shut the studio down. That'll save us a packet of money. And you know what? Why not do it from home? You guys are at home. Or in a hotel anyway. But I mean, what do you need a studio for? You don't anymore. So we're doing that. We're trying to cut our costs. We don't want to cut shows or staff, but we might have to. But there is another way, though. And actually, from day one, back when we started this in 2005, I thought, what would be really cool is if the people who love the shows paid for the shows. So we didn't have to have an advertiser. We just had the people who, the community. And the community would tell you, if they liked what you were doing, they'd pay, to listen. If they didn't, they wouldn't. Well, we've kind of come around to that again, and that's why we started Club Twit a couple of years ago. Now we try to keep it inexpensive, $7 a month. I understand nobody wants another subscription. If you can't afford it or you don't want to pay it, I understand. But if you can, and you listen to Paul and Richard and you listen to our other shows and you get some value out of it, $7 a month is not a lot. You support us, you keep us on the air, you keep us doing the shows. You also get some benefits, ad-free versions of all the shows. We don't need ads for those people. Access to the Discord, great place to chat, not just during the shows, but all around the clock. There are people in there talking about all kinds of geeky stuff. You get special events. We've got Stacy's Book Club coming up next Thursday, a week from tomorrow. We're going to do the book High Voltage. So I think that we're trying to make this a fun place to be. I know our community is a great community. Love you guys. They've been very supportive. We are now at 12,037 paid members. Thank you to each and every one of you. And I would like to invite you, if you're not in that number, to join. Just go to twit.tv/clubtwit. Leo, if you just said that right up front, we could have just gotten on with this. Okay, fine. Cut out the beginning. twit.tv/clubtwit. And I thank you for your support. Without it, the good news is I'll have a lot more free time. Back we go to Paul and Richard Campbell. Actually, I might not. I might have to do what Richard does. Trounce around the country trying to sell soda pop. It is not easy, is it, Richard? No siree.
Yeah.
That's those cases of soda kill you every time.
There was
all the caps pop off. Like, it's a mess.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
There was a private museum in Washington, D.C. called the Newseum, which is now out of business. And they had Daniel Pearl's laptop, the Unabomber's cabin. They had a piece of the World Trade Center, piece of the Berlin Wall. It was really kind of an amazing place. But one of the best, areas they had was like, this is what it used to take to broadcast live for a TV show. It was a giant truck with a huge crane, giant antenna thing on the back, or radar wheel or whatever. And they're like, this is what you need today. It was just like an iPhone, Nice. And I was talking to my wife about this. But I said, with like Twit and you coming off of TV, when you started Twit back in, what was that, 2005 probably?
Yeah, I built a TV station.
You were to TV, but
we were the cheap thing. No, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem is today, like, you get kids walking around with like their phones.
You don't need anything.
You don't need anything, And it's weird how the world changes that way.
In a way, we're right sizing. We're actually kind of. I challenged the staff a year ago. I said, think about what we would do if we started today, and we wouldn't do this.
We would do it differently. Yeah, for sure.
We're going kind of closer to that. We're going to use a software called Restream. We tried it yesterday. It worked really well. Everybody's going to work from home, and I think it will be much more sensible. Frankly,
but the nice thing is
a modernization effort at .NET Rocks for the same thing.
Yeah,
you had to write all our own code back in 2002. What choice did you have?
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean things. Yeah, it's a different world, and it's hard. It's hard. You've been doing stuff. You do things a certain way for such a long time, and it works. And then one day you're like, "What do you mean it doesn't work?" Whatever the overhead and
I'm not complaining. I mean. To be perfectly honest, we did very well for a long time, and I socked money away. So I could. Right. I mean, I don't need to work. I could retire, but if I'm going to work, I want to get paid for it. Yeah, let's put it that way.
That's awfully selfish of you.
Not a lot, just a little.
Yeah.
So, but it's not really me. I often do work without pay, but. We got to pay you guys. We got to pay the light bill. We got to pay the rent. We got to pay the staff. I mean, it's pretty expensive. We have $1 million a year payroll.
Right.
And it's hard to pay $1 million a year payroll when you're making $600,000 a year. It just doesn't.
Yeah. I'm not an accountant, but
something's missing on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see that. Did you try AI?
Maybe AI could fix it. Yep.
AI fixes everything.
Pay for Copilot. I don't know. Xbox. So last week was arguably the best week of the year for Xbox so far, with that big event with all the games coming. Everything's looking good there. And they gave us a second slate of Game Pass titles across, console, PC, and cloud. for June, and sad trombone. So, because I don't know what I thought was going to happen.
Going to be a year.
There are some good games in here. I'm not dumping on the games, honestly. FC24. There's a new game that Day and Date came out yesterday, I think, which is called Still Wakes the Deep. Is kind of a horror, slow boil horror kind of a thing, which I think I might actually try to play. It looks pretty cool. But no, Activision, Blizzard, anything. So I'm still working through my little catalog of games that I get through Game Pass, waiting for, I don't know what I'm waiting for anymore. What's going to happen? What's the next one's going to be Call of Duty, really, in November? That's what we're going to do? I don't know. I hope not. I hope there's more, but how many hundreds of games does Activision have? Could we get a couple of them, something once? I don't know. Apparently not. Yesterday, I think. Yep. Yesterday, Nintendo had their big game title reveal, right? Called Nintendo Direct. Same thing. You can go watch it on YouTube. Bunch of games. I mean, a lot of games, actually. And their console is winding down, right? There are a lot of rumors, and they pretty much confirmed it, that they're working on a Switch 2. They're not calling it that, but necessarily, but that this is semi-imminent. Now we're thinking maybe early 2025. But they just announced like an incredible slate of games, including a Metroid Prime 4 title that has been kind of kicking around for several years, frankly, and looks pretty good, right? New Zelda game, new Mario and Luigi RPG. There's a remastered version of Donkey Kong Country, which has to go back to not ColecoVision, but probably
close.
What was around then? Probably the original Nintendo. Somewhere back there. Anyway, there's a bunch of it. So a lot of really neat stuff happening there, and that'll be some good, life here at the end of the process. And then since publishing the story, I've seen rumors that Metroid is coming in 2025. This is one of the games they didn't actually have an exact date for, and there's been some speculation that this is going to launch day and date with the new Switch console, right? Which would make sense.
Yep. No, they're putting everything into Switch. It's what people want.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
When do they make another desktop or living room console? I don't know. Why would you?
Yep.
It's what people want.
Yeah. If you're an Xbox,
the Switch 2 can cast to a high res screen and cast to a 4K. Like that would be the thing. Right.
It's just 1080p right now, right? It's not even 1440p or anything. It's 1080p. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
A 4K Switch, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. That was expected. I think at one point they were working on a 4K Switch, and maybe they held off specifically for a new gen. They did OLED and they did the cost reduced one.
It also costs money in the games too, right? That's different art. Like it's expensive.
Yeah, but I would expect Metroid will work fine on OG Switch, and then it will just look better on the new one, right? That's not a bad approach. That's what Xbox, Sony, they do the same thing. I have an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription. I almost called it a prescription. It's about as costly as medical care in the United States. So that makes sense. It gives you the PC version, the console version, but also the game streaming service, right? Xbox Cloud Gaming. I'm sure there are games that work fine on Xbox Cloud Gaming, and I'm sure some of you live in a world where you have some kind of a 2 terabit something fiber connection.
Yep.
But I can never get this thing to work, and I work well, right, for the types of games I play. So like the modern Doom game, for example, which runs well on a laptop, like a non-gaming laptop.
Yep.
That thing will not play. It will. I mean, it plays. It just doesn't. You can't play. You just can't play it. Like it doesn't work. And before we got here in Mexico, Stephanie told me that the cable company, actually, it's a fiber connection, but it's only about. I think we were paying for maybe 800 megabits, and I think it went up to a gigabit or whatever. And the upload speeds are really good, actually. So like at home, I only get 30 to 40 megabits up, and here I think it might be 300 or 500. So it's pretty good, like compared to home. So I was like, all right, here we go. This is going to work. This is going to be where game streaming works. Yeah, it doesn't work.
No,
it does not work. So on that note, Boosteroid, which is a European-based game streaming, because of the Activision Blizzard trial, right? Or
this is the company that the antitrust group in the UK defended tooth and nail. Isn't this?
Yeah, it was the only reason anyone's ever heard of it is because Microsoft is going to let them basically resell their games through their own game pad, or what do you call it?
And they did that preventatively before the UK CMA even really came up with a protest. And then they started protesting, saying this is a problem of this. And
I don't recall the UK being a problem. What do you mean?
Okay.
The worst. Anyway,
short memories are great, man. They're awesome.
This is an age-old Microsoft strategy, propping up the competition. Microsoft did it with Apple right in the late 1990s, gave them a cash injection, non-voting shares, investment in the company, et cetera, et cetera. And I think Apple's still around, right? They're doing okay. So that worked out.
Number 3. I mean, it's got to be tough, but whatever.
They're only number 3. Anyway, so Boosteroid, which I don't know anything about and frankly don't care too much about, but if you're in the UK, you may be interested in this. They actually have an Ultra subscription plan now in Europe that provides 4K resolution somehow, which I'm going to argue is impossible unless you're looking at a still image.
That's impossible. 4K.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's just impossible to stick
4K. They didn't say what the frame rate is. Maybe it's 4K 15 frames.
It's 0.005. It's good for chess.
Yeah, chess. That's all you need.
I don't know what you would play. Anyway, we didn't end up writing it up, but it's there. It's a thing. I don't know. God bless them. I hope they succeed with it. But I'm just listen. I would be happy to play 640 by 480 over the internet with this Doom game, Doom Eternal, or whatever it's called. And
if it would work,
it does not work.
Yes. GeForce. Have you done GeForce Now?
Not in a long time. I should look at that again, actually.
I would bet that's the best performance.
Yeah, you might be right. And they're nice because if you have a game in your library, I mean, you pay for this, or you can pay for the service, but you can actually access games you've paid for,
right? Which
I think is a really cool perk.
And if you have an NVIDIA Shield, you've got that nice Tegra processor running, and it has upscaling.
It's hybrid AI.
Yeah, it's actually, it'd be, I have it. I have to set it up and see.
I got to look at that. I'm glad you reminded me that. I forgot about that. Yeah, I should look at that. I
used to love it. That's how I played No Man's Sky for a long time.
Nice.
Load times were slow, but once you're playing, it's fine.
I think a fast action third-person shooter is going to be tough no matter what, but that kind of a game where it's kind of middle ground, as far as like speed of things and so forth. Yeah, that might be good. I'm gonna think about that.
You know what's coming up? Richard has a German whiskey. Ever hear that?
That's an oxymoron.
I know that's the country where Jägermeister comes from, but I don't think we're talking Jaeger.
Nope. Done that.
Done that. Not going to do it again. Our son is 21. Lisa's son, he's our youngest. And he's got a real interest in Jaeger.
Oh boy.
And, as one does.
Well, there's an easy cure for that.
It's that or Goldschlager, right? So
either one of them have the same cure. Just drink a bunch.
Just keep drinking a bunch of it.
I told him the story of when I was his age in college. I snagged a bottle of Pernod and drank the whole thing. And I remember waking up in the backyard with the world spinning the wrong way.
Yep.
And saying, actually, I'm not doing that again.
I would argue you haven't lived until you've woken up on the grass in your backyard. I did that one time.
That was the beginning of the end.
It was cold and wet and confusing.
It's awful. It's not what you want.
And later in the day, when the neighbors start bringing me back my clothes that I left strewn across the yards, trying to
There's like a deer sleeping next to you.
That's it. Yeah.
We had a party way back in the day. I had just learned how to make the best lemon drop in the world, and I still do. And so we had a lemon drop party, and I made pictures of lemon drops. We had people over and stuff, and many of them ended up in the hot tub at the end of the night. And one of my friends literally crawled home like a mile, like this. And another guy went home without his pants.
Nice.
But he forgot where the party was. And the next day he goes and leaves a note on my neighbor's door saying, "You have my pants."
Good stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
When I was 21, I lived in Albuquerque, and there were 2 times a friend called me and said, "Your house is on the news." One time was when it burned down.
Oh dear.
But the first one was because we were having a massive party, and it was so bad that like the cars were blocking all of the neighbors' driveways up and down the street, and there was an inch of like alcohol on the floor of the kitchen, and there were people sleeping outside, and it was not good.
Wednesday.
Nobody got arrested. Just saying.
Well, and the thing is, kids, you see us, we survived. You don't see all the people we left behind who didn't make it.
Yeah.
So
you also, I hope it's obvious how broken we are inside.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There are
Did we
better
survive?
paths.
Did we really?
Yeah. Did we survive? Yeah,
Did we?
Parts of us survived.
You're watching
Yeah.
The Survivors, Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell. Time for the back of the book. Paul, why don't you kick things off with a dev pick of the week? That's
I didn't have a tip per se, but I thought this would kind of qualify. So
Grab Maddie's post.
Yeah, this has been close to a year, I think, but they announced last year there were a number of initiatives around Visual Studio Code to bring in C# and some kind of more traditional developer workloads, right? So this is the C# dev kit, I think it's called. But one of the big ones to me is the MAUI extension, and this allows you to create these cross-platform apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, including iPad, right? Using a single code base, right? The successor to Xamarin. So to date, you would have used the traditional big box version of Visual Studio, but now you can do so with Visual Studio Code because that extension is now generally available. So it's just out there in the world for you to use. So if you prefer that more lightweight editor, which I have to say, kind of do, for this kind of thing.
Yep.
Nice.
Different people like it different ways. A big thing with the dev kit was that there's a certain group of developers that don't want to go in Studio. They're happy in code, but they couldn't see the project.
Yes,
so
that was right. Right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Dev kit made that go away.
That was part of the dev kit. The C#. Yeah, that's right.
If you're going to use it that way, you need an MSDN subscription.
That's right. Well, because you're in that case part of a team.
Yep.
And the idea is that your employer is paying for that stuff. And at least now you have this option you can give to developers.
Yeah, that are in Studio.
I could be wrong, but no, I think this is true too. They also got GitHub Copilot integration in code.
Yep.
I think well before big Visual Studio. I think that just happened, right?
Pretty much. They were very careful with the integration with Studio, but Studio's extension model is way more complicated.
Yeah.
ES Code, because it's newer, doesn't have all the baggage that Studio has.
Yeah, and it was right. It was built with extensibility in mind. In fact, the idea there is I know it's not super lightweight, it's Electron or whatever, but it's lightweight compared to Visual Studio, and you add the workloads that you use, so you don't have the overhead of all that.
And to be clear, virtually everything is lighter weight than Visual Studio.
Yes, that's true. Except for Teams. Yeah. Well, no, actually, the new Teams probably is.
Oh, well, I talked to an Eclipse programmer, like, I feel your pain.
Oh my God, yes. Or anything based on what's the Android Studio is based on. What's that thing called? It doesn't matter. Whatever that. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Whatever that IDE is, also IntelliJ. Terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yes. No, Visual Studio Code is much preferable to this. Yeah, baggage. They're talking baggage. The 70s. Baggage from 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you may recall, this has nothing to do with Windows, but God, I just love this app so much. Late in 2023, I one of my regular, little jihads to try to find like a news app, like a news feed basically on mobile that I liked. And because these things are also terrible, like, Google News and whatever the Microsoft things call it. I every once in a while just go and try to find something. And I came across an app called Artifact. Artifact uses AI because everything does, but it allows you to go in and be very specific about what you like and don't like, which, could be good, bad, and indifferent, but I'm not using it for news. It's literally just in the morning after reading the actual news, I want to see what the tech news is. And this is really good for that. I fell in love with it. I promoted it in December, and then they announced in January they were going away. And this was an app that was made by the founders of Instagram, right? And they just couldn't figure out a way to make it work and blah, 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 whatever. A couple months went by. Artifact never disappeared. I thought, nice. And so I wrote another article. I'm like, by the way, this thing never disappeared. It's fantastic. The next day, they announced that Yahoo was buying them, which is got to be like a worst case scenario, I thought.
Yeah.
I'm like, here we go. So they're going to integrate their recommendation engine and their AI stuff into their Yahoo News app, which you could not pay me to even look at. So I'm like, great, it's dead, whatever, who cares? Last week, Yahoo announced a new version of their Yahoo News app with integrated Artifact technology, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm actually going to install something with the word Yahoo in it. I'm going to look at this thing. And here's the thing. It's not a new version of Yahoo News. It's Artifact with a Yahoo logo on it.
Right?
It is. That's what it is. That's what I want. I don't want the Yahoo logo. I don't care. But
you don't care.
So
you want Artifact.
If you looked at this when I recommended it or otherwise, and also were hurt by its death, if you can live with the Yahoo logo and the purple color, look at this thing because it is Artifact. It's not Yahoo News with other stuff. It's Artifact. They've added a few things I don't like in the For You view, which is the default. They actually have top news at the top, and I haven't figured out a way to get rid of it. But I use it on the iPad. Someone told me the Android version, this was a few days ago, hadn't been updated yet, but it will be. They announced it for both. So take a look at it, especially if you were a fan.
I downloaded it immediately because I loved Artifact.
Great, right?
Yeah.
You recognize it immediately as
Yeah. It's too bad it's
really
tarnished with the Yahoo name.
I know, but you know what? I'll take it.
That's what's really funny. We Yahoo Finance is a sponsor because they're kind of a separate division. There are still there are a lot of people use Yahoo Finance. There are still, I mean, some of their sites are still the most visited sites in the world. Among us, technorati, they're kind of the name Yahoo kind of makes us snigger. But
of course, I mean,
but the Yahoo News,
we're a little too cute when it comes to stuff. But
they have, I don't know who owns it now. It's not Verizon anymore. I don't know what's it.
Oh, I'm sure it's a group of Chinese
some
investors
public
or something.
equity. It's private equity.
But it's something like that. Yeah.
But whoever it is clearly investing in the properties that still have an audience, and news is one of them. And I have to say, Yahoo Finance is still great, and Yahoo News is now back. Right?
If you find Yahoo offensive, which, I think I could be on board with. Like I said, one of the things you can do is control which publications get through with the news, right? You can actually remove all the Yahoo news sources. And there were multiple Yahoo news sources, like you said, a few of them. There's a Yahoo Sports, there's Yahoo whatever.
Right.
Like if you don't want to have the Yahoo stuff, I mean, you still have to look at the logo, but, you can actually get rid of their news sources. So they're at least doing that. I mean, a lot of big tech, I guess they're not really big tech, but a lot of tech companies would kind of force you to accept their stuff, I would say. And I wouldn't begrudge them that too much, but they actually let you take it out.
It's pretty white labeled. It's pretty clean. It looks, as you said, just like Artifact, except for that.
Yeah, just at the top. That's the one thing where it's like,
and I liked it enough that I turned on notifications. That's how I found out Willie Mays had passed yesterday.
Love it. That's amazing, right? So they did the right thing with it. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't expect it because what they said was, we're going to add this technology to our app. And I'm like, I don't want your app, Right. But then that's not what they did. Maybe it was like Recall. They figured it was better just to rip it out and just ship this other thing.
And did Systrom go to Yahoo, or did he just give them the technology and say, see you later? He doesn't need the money.
No, they sold it.
Kevin Systrom.
You know what?
The Instagram guy.
There were two guys, and they might be temporarily consulting or something.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
Because as you say, this is just picked right up where Artifact left off, which makes me so happy because Artifact was fantastic.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I love it. My only problem is I should have said this. Problem is I spent months fine tuning.
Right. And now you're starting over.
So now I'm getting stuff like People Magazine.
Yeah, it's back.
Stuff, like all these. You can go through their publication.
I did
list.
at the beginning. You get to, you also.
You got to take a day to do that.
Yeah.
Like $1 million.
I know.
So it's worth it. I'm still, whatever. I'll take it. I'm not going to open it. Well, actually, I haven't done this yet. I've actually customized this app without signing in, right? So at some point, I'm going to have to.
Oh, yeah.
Probably suck it up and get a Yahoo.
I actually have a Yahoo Mail account still. I don't know why. Well, because you don't delete it. Well, and Flickr was Yahoo for a long time. They got sold, but
yeah, it was. That's why I had one, because of Flickr.
Yeah.
Flickr was so great.
Yeah, I love Flickr. Well, it still is, frankly. So, isn't that interesting?
Yep, you're back.
Can't kill them. All right, Richard.
Just like the Jolla phone running Sailfish is like a Nokia Migo or whatever it was called.
Did you see? Yeah. And I had to do this. I did it on Twit. The president of Nokia making the first 3D surround sound call. And he said, this is going to be in phones everywhere. And
just not Nokia phones.
Nokia doesn't make phones anymore. They're HMD. They're not, they just sell the name.
Well, they're like a network.
I thought they just made tires now. They just back to the tire business.
Well, they probably. Yeah, They're not a phone company.
It was very funny. I had to do the story because it was
Hey,
like
Nintendo used to make playing cards. I mean, things change. It's okay.
As a result, I learned the term. I can't remember if it was from Stacy or Paris. A beat sweetener. People who work in day-to-day news know this, which is you're on a beat. You're on the phone beat. And, you got to file 4 or 5 stories a day. There's not a lot. Yeah. So sometimes every once in a while you get a press release. You go, yeah, there's one. That's a beet sweetener.
Yeah, it's a quick story.
That sounds like a dirty thing.
It does, doesn't it? It was Paris. Yeah. Paris Martineau told me about it.
2 beet sweeteners.
Well, it's a lot of sugars.
We'll see how I feel after that. Let's see how it goes.
Mr. Richard Campbell, what is going on with Run As Radio?
Well, this week's show is with Yuri Diogenes, and he works for Microsoft, and he's in the what they call the CNAPP space, the cloud native application protection platform, which they now call Microsoft Defender for Cloud, because there's way too many defenders. Holy man.
They got to get some AI going in there.
Yeah. Well, goodness knows there's, Copilot for security.
Oh boy.
And we talked about that as well. But actually, the Defender for Cloud is pretty rational. It is all of the stuff you need to protect your cloud apps. So that's, protective tools around APIs, servers, containers, storage blocks, any resource management, all of those different things all fall under the same umbrella. They used to be different defenders, but they've learned now bundle these together because you need them all anyway. And then they integrate tightly with Purview, which is the data identification and management and retention system. And then also Sentinel, which is the SIEM, which is your tool for looking across all the things that are going on in all of the different defenders and say, I think this is an attack. If you think about the way bad guys work, it's not like a little flag pops that goes, oh, we're being attacked. It's, hey, this is some weird data motion over here. And why is this other account logged in over there? And those various things trigger in all these different Defender products. And each one of them may or may not get your hackles up. But with a tool like Sentinel, all those things come in together and you're like, wait, this looks wrong. Let's scrutinize this and start closing some doors. So yeah, the goal here was really, how do we put tools and attack path controls in place so that we get ahead of the attackers. We know once they get into our systems, which is not all that easy to resist in the first place, it takes them months to actually get ready for a major attack. And these are the kinds of tools that help you surface that and maybe shut the doors before they get to set off their weapon and start extorting you.
Did you say Yuri was searching for the one honest Microsoft server or something like that? Because his last name, Diogenes, get it?
Yeah.
No, never mind.
Yeah,
Forget I said that.
No, you're doing a little Greek mythology for me there.
There you go. There you go.
That's legit.
I watched too much Jeopardy. That's the problem. Let's do whiskey instead. What do you say?
Look, I'm in Berlin, so you got to tell some stories. This particular hotel is very lovely. We had a great time here, but it is in what used to be East Berlin, right? And the two halves of the city, you can still tell the difference. They're not the same. The western part of Berlin got a lot of money, a lot of development, and as much as unification, which was now decades ago, supposed to have evened all out, it's just not like that, actually. But even more than being here in the city, I had a day out at a friend's place, which is always great. I've stayed in plenty of hotels and so forth, but to go to a home, they've got little kids running around, like all of that fun. And we took a walk, and we actually walked along the path that is where the Berlin Wall used to run to divide off the outer part of West Berlin from East Germany, which was all around it. So this is out in the forest and in the fields. And, after they took the wall down, they just made this a walking path. In fact, they have an ultra marathon that runs the whole thing all the way around and through Berlin. The area is called Hannenberg. It's you can find it. There's actually a thing they call the Old Fort, which was a Prussian-style military fort, brick and concrete, built in the 1800s, which is now just a tourist destination. But they have the thing they call a new fort, just less than a kilometer away. And it was actually an old gravel pit that as they were restoring Berlin after the war in the 60s, they piled all the construction debris into the pit until it became a hill. Like, that's how much stuff is there. It's now 45 meters higher than the rest of the area, around about 150 feet. So we hiked up there to get a look back at the old fort and the area around, and you could see where the wall still used to go through. And weirdly enough, my friend pointed out to me the Teufelsberg, and this is a little more famous, but Teufelsberg was another couple of kilometers further out, and it's the old NSA listening post that was also built on an even higher rubber pile from recovering from the war. But that's, all the Cold War stuff was still right there, and it really struck me that, like, once upon a time, this country was cut into quarters, and the city was cut in half, and you could see it. You can still see it. It's not that far away. Anyway, apropos of nothing at all, we were going to talk about whiskey. So we have to go even further west away from Berlin, past Leipzig and Marburg, into the Harz Mountain. And by the way, this is the place during World War II, the southern part of the Harz Mountain. This is where the middle works were, where they were building the V2 rockets with slaves underground, because they're full of these old mines. But there's actually been people in that area. There's some excavated sites with Homo erectus in it. So 750,000 years ago, like, this is old school human inhabitation. And I read a piece about, they think that Neanderthal used to live in the area, and when the Homo sapiens came in about 100,000 years ago, pushed them all out. The first documentation of the Harz Mountains in sort of what we consider modern times go back to about 800 AD, where they were finding silver and they were starting to mine. The area is full of silver and iron, zinc, and a few other minerals. And they've been mining for more than 1,000 years. And the family that's responsible for this distillery is literally part of that lineage. They have a clearer picture for the better part of 1,000 years. They call the distillery the Hercynian distillery. Hercynian is actually a Roman word, and it means the dark forest. The Hercynian forests were all of the forests of southern Germany that were generally considered very dangerous by the Romans, enough that they fought a lot of wars in there and didn't go well. But it's also known as the Hammerschmied distillery, and Hammerschmied means hammer mill. So where this distillery sits now, there were hammer mills going back to the 1200s. Then these were the machines that basically worked the iron to make it usable. But they was shut down in the early 1800s, after 600 or 700 years of use, which is an interesting thing to think about, just how old that particular space is. And this is where the Buchholz family used to be mine and machinery operators. But one of the family members at one point took that old hammer mill and turned it into a factory for making metal parts. And then when that business started to dry up, because the metal was getting rarer and more expensive, the mines were closing down, he opened a restaurant. And that restaurant, like many in that era in the late 1800s, made its own booze, although most of it was liqueurs, various kinds of herbal flavors. This is where all your Jägermeisters and things come from. It was a normal practice in that part of the world. The restaurant actually shut down in 1998. So we're right back in the modern times, because the booze was being very successful. So they actually closed the restaurant to focus on spirits. They didn't start making whiskey until 2000. And they actually called it the Harzer, as in Harz Mountains, single malt whiskey, which is exactly what's still printed on the box to this day. The Harzer single malt whiskey, admittedly only 20 years ago. The first new make went into barrels in 2002. Their water source is up in the mountains there, and it's called the Elswell, which is a spring in an area they call Elsbachtal, which translates literally to the Els Valley. But seeing how they were following a Scottish whiskey practice, they actually called the whiskey Glenells, which upset the Scots because Glen is the Gaelic word for that. So then they later changed the name to Elsburn, which is the other Gaelic word for valley. So I don't know why that would necessarily make them happier, but that's what they've done. Last week we talked about Ballinadaloch and how small and boutiquey that distillery was. This is even smaller. This is a little place. They put out 10,000 liters of wash a week. They're only running 4 sessions, only 1 mash tun. They've got 4 3,000-liter wash boxes that are made of French oak, unusual. They're usually made of pine or cypress. And they do a fermentation that runs between 96 and 144 hours. And you're like, why the giant range? It's like, well, because they're running the wash mills over and over and over again, and then loading it all into the washback and letting it ferment. So it comes in over days. And so some of it's going to be going for 3 days. Some will be going up to 6 days. It depends. They combine them all together. 2 700-liter wash stills. You could almost fit this in your garage. They're so small. And an 800-liter spirit still. Their new make only comes in at 70%, which is relatively low for their base spirit. And they dilute it down to 60%, which is pretty normal. A little bit low. Traditionally, bourbon goes in the barrel at 62.5, and our Scottish whiskey goes in at 63.5. So they're only going in 60. But they almost exclusively, more than half, use sherry casks. But they also use Malaga and port casks. And everyone knew what Malaga is. Malaga is Spanish port. So kind of all the same kind of thing. Fortified wine barrels, if you like. They've also got some Marsala, Madeira, or Amarone, Moscatel, Bordeaux, Sauternes, a little bit of rum, a little bit of bourbon. They have some fun. And they age it about 5 to 10 years.
Now,
this is
I have to point out, you have not tried this yet.
No, I just opened it right now.
A virgin bottle, and he's never tasted it before.
What could go wrong?
Well, I think this is great. We've never done that.
No, I usually am drinking a whiskey I've had before I go put it on the show, but that's not this time. So nose is super mild, no little flare. This is only 43%, which is a little low. They don't chill filter either. So this should probably cloud if we threw some ice in it, if it's coming in at 43 like that. But yeah, no fiery nose. Doesn't feel like my hairs are peeling back. Wow. Okay. This is pretty gentle, like still 43% alcohol. So you really, there's heat. Yeah. Okay. So the mouth
hit you later, huh?
Came like it did nothing until about here, like down in the chest, and it's like I have landed. Yeah, no, the mouth is really nice on it. This wins a lot of awards. It's quite popular. They've been cranking them out, but they only make this Ellsberg, the Burn the Journey. They make 13,000 bottles of this in a given year. So this is the 2023 edition. There are only 13,000 of these. Really small productions. Here's the one I couldn't find now that I've learned about the whiskey. They make a smoky whiskey, but not a peated whiskey because they have no peat. So the master distiller, as it is fair, he smoked it with alder and beech hardwoods to dry the malt, and made it initially just for himself, but it was a hit. It's called Ulrich. And so just a totally different kind of smoke. There's not a bit of smoke in this, right? It is just a real straightforward, like kind of creamy caramel.
This is my kind of whiskey. This is what I would drink.
What do you think your expectations would be with a German whiskey? It should be a little hairier than this.
It tastes like rye bread, I think.
Yeah.
Or beer.
It's not beery at all. But again, they've got a winner here.
Nice.
About 50 euros for a bottle. That's a bit pricey without an age notation on it, but it's not that old. So they haven't been in business long enough. They've been making whiskey for 22 years. But going to be a trick to find. I happened to be in Berlin, and as it was, I still had to go to a specialty whiskey shop where they had one of them and not the line, because I might have gotten a couple more. But I think I'll be taking this with me to Montana and feeding it to my friends.
Ooh. Your friends, the elk?
The fishermen.
You're going fishing again. Oh, yeah. You went fly fishing. Montana. When is that going to be?
We're going fly fishing. So that'll be over the weekend. So then from there, this is a 6-leg trip I've been on. I left on the 3rd. I'll get home on the 29th. This is leg 4. So leg 5 will be fishing in Montana. Leg 6 is at the Kansas City Developer Conference in Kansas City, Missouri, because names are hard.
I don't have enough labels for you.
I'm going to break your software, Leo, by God. And they have a floor podcasting space. So with a wired connection, so I'll try it out. We'll see if it's stable and the noise level is reasonable. Otherwise, I'll go hide in the hotel again. But it might be more fun to shoot from the floor.
Yeah.
We'll see what. Yeah, this is a surprise whiskey for me. I only just learned about it. I hunted a bottle down yesterday. I just tasted it now. I love happy surprises. Like
Ellsperns, the original Here's shingle malt whiskey.
love the name.
your whiskeys.
Yeah, it's almost the Harz Mountains. That's why it's Hercynian, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Like it.
In the town of
all in
Ida.
the port.
Wow.
So
That's
that's the
pretty
western
cool.
part of the Harz Mountains. It's a total surprise.
Pretty
what
cool.
the heck?
And maybe we could try these other ones at some point.
Yeah, I want to find the Ulrich. I want to try a smoky whiskey that isn't peat.
I love the
Just see what it.
love the label.
Yeah,
It
But
did
you
get
notice they only make 1,500 bottles a year. Like that's going to be a bugger.
and 95 out of 100 in the in a liquid gold award in the Whiskey Bible.
Yeah,
So-
if Jim Murray likes you, you've done something right.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Anyway,
Well, I know what to,
I'm
I
so
know what
happy I found this.
know what to look for your birthday.
There you go.
And it ain't
Well,
a-
I'm going to find it. I'm going to find an excuse to do more driving around in Germany, and I think I'm just going
Yeah.
to pop by that in the middle of the mountains.
Germany's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, my friends. That's Richard Campbell right there. Run As Radio is his podcast, and .NET Rocks. You'll find them both at runasradio.com. Paul Thurrott right here on your left there. I gotta remember, I gotta spatialize you guys so you come from different parts of
I need to be spatialized.
spatialize you. Paul is at thurrott.com, THURROT.com. He's also got his books at leanpub.com. No, I'm sorry, the Delphi 3 Super Bible is out of stock.
I'm going to read the audiobook version soon, though. So I like doing things that don't make sense and take a lot of time.
You know, it's so funny because I love audiobooks, but they never put programming books in audiobooks. They never do. Yeah.
X equals
Yeah, reading
/
code is bad.
Bad.
Do not read code.
Bad. Okay. Yes, leanpub.com has his current books, which is a field guide to Windows 11, constantly being updated. Thanks, Microsoft. Inside the field guide to Windows 10. So it's all this kind of like a Russian doll, nesting doll of Windows versions. You should just put them all in there. Like, you know, if
Windows 10 field guide looks like a pamphlet now.
yeah,
You know,
compared to 11.
compared to,
Yeah.
I wish I could be that concise.
It's not your fault, Paul.
Yeah.
There's also the Windows Everywhere book, which I loved. I read excerpts of it as a premium member of Thurrott.com, which I recommend, by the way. And the book is fantastic. Windows Everywhere, the story of kind of the history of Windows through its programming languages, and a lot of fun. Thank you, my friends. Travel safely, and we will be back here next Wednesday. We do this show every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. We do stream it now live on YouTube, youtube.com/twit/live. And if you subscribe and smash the bell, as the kids say, you will get a notification when we go live right at the beginning of the show. We played with it yesterday. As I mentioned, we're probably going to shut the studio down in a month or two to save money. And I'm going to move this all to my house. We've been talking about how much of this can go.
I didn't know you were a hoarder.
I don't know how much of this can
That
go
would be
to
a
my
new show.
house.
Help Leo de-hoard.
Well, we did the Swedish death cleaning at the house, so we have. But it's a
but
shame
now you're
to
gonna
fill it up again.
You're going to need like a
that's-
shipping container or
That's
something.
not good. Well,
Hey, got all that stuff out now.
I
You gotta
can't
fill it
bring
back up
the
again.
top part because it's too high. The ceiling's too low for it. But I can bring. They're detachable. I can bring the bottom part, which would give me a good chunk of the garbage that I've collected over the last 20 years. So that's good. I think there's fezzes inside that cupboard. Anyway, what was I saying? We're going to do it from the house, everybody's house. And that will mean I can't. Oh, I know what I was talking about. That when we tried it yesterday, we streamed it simultaneously in YouTube, Twitch. We can do it on X.com. We're going to stream. I think we do Instagram, although they have a 1 hour limit, so we can only do like the first half.
That would be a problem.
Yeah. Okay, we're leaving Instagram now, but if you want to watch more, go to X.com. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. But I love the idea of streaming it in more places because even then, even when we did this, people said, "Oh, you're still alive. Wow, I didn't know you were still around." So that's, I guess, good. Get rediscovered. So there will be more ways to watch live. But right now, you do it on YouTube, youtube.com/twit/live. Of course, you can also watch after the fact, which is really, for most people, how they watch, because it's more convenient. You can watch at your leisure. We make downloads of both audio and video versions available on our website, twit.tv/WW. There's a Windows Weekly YouTube channel. You can watch the video there. Great for sharing clips. Best thing to do, subscribe in your favorite podcast client. That way you get it automatically the minute the show's available. You don't miss anything. But I know one of the things I noticed with myself, if you subscribe to a bunch of podcasts, then you feel guilty if you don't listen to them. It's okay. Just, listen to the latest. And if you feel like you need more,
if you're okay with it, I guess.
I'm okay with it. And then if you want more, you could go back in time or whatever, but at least you have it, right?
I got 1,900 episodes of .NET Rocks. Do not go back to the whole account.
Do not.
It's too many.
And the effect really is true of our shows, too, because they're pretty topical. Unless you want to know what we were talking about when Windows Vista came out or something like that.
Yeah, I don't have to do that. I have listeners and viewers who remember everything I've ever said. I could just
they
bring up something from 16 years ago. You said, like, I don't. I say a lot of things. I'm an idiot. I don't know.
That is one thing we're going to lose in the new studio is I won't have this nice screen to look at because this is a little more complicated than we can do at home.
Yeah, so but you'll have a laptop or something. Like
it'll be a single of me.
Screen.
So it'll be like this, or maybe a little like this, and then there'll be a picture of you, and we can do it side by side. We did with. If you want to know what it's going to look like, look at Security Now from yesterday, and so I can have you and Richard and me. It's just we won't have this. I don't know. Why do we need this shot?
Yeah.
So I can throw a Tux Linux penguin at you. That's why. Whoa.
Easy.
Holy cow. Easy. I guess we don't need that TV anymore.
That's what my skull sounds like.
Wow. It's a good thing we're getting rid of it.
Yep.
Oh,
I've heard of a glass chin, but anyway.
Yeah. All right, my friends.
My flight to Newark's just been delayed.
Oh,
Most
no.
excellent.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
Well, take a nap. Get some rest.
Adventures begin. Yeah.
Have fun.
Good luck.
We'll see you next week right here on Windows Weekly. Thanks, club members. See you next time.